challenge. Here we have Fortuna chess coach and the infamous or famous Reti. Say hi, everybody.
Hello. Hey, how's it going?
All right, so I'm going to memorize 20,000 moves in 1 week. 966 variations. Hot take. Is that possible?
Did you say 20,000?
20,000 plus, probably. I'm under counting.
In 1 week? That's like 7 days a week, or are we talking like cat weeks? Like,
7 days. Seven. Well, I mean, okay, I have to come clean. I do have a little bit of a head start on some of the variations. I've studied probably like 100 of variations before. So I'm a little familiar with some of the variations. But some of them are really complex. So it's just madness. Okay, first, let's go Fortuna chess coach. Can I do that? Do you think it's possible?
I would say if you have a background with what you're learning, yes. I would say if you have some background with it, like if it was someone fresh, new to the game of chess, I would say no way. But I believe you're studying to be a master. I think you're a very strong player. I've seen your channels on YouTube. You're very well known and accomplished with chess. So I would expect someone in your shoes to have a shot at it. But it does sound quite daunting.
Okay. I appreciate that. Yeah, I appreciate that vote of confidence. Yeah, just to be frank, I'm 21-11 right now, so I'm like 89 points from master and perpetually 100 points from master because I have a floor. I have a floor, so I'm lucky there. I can't drop under 2100. No matter how trash I am. Okay, ready. Can I do it? Will I be able to get 966 variation, 20,000 plus moves in my head?
I think that it's kind of a question. I think you can. I don't know if you should. I don't know if that's like, I don't know if it's the most effective way to like have deep retention.
Okay.
But if that's not the question, if it's just, is it possible? Like, yeah, I think it's possible. I think I agree with Fortuna about,
all right.
you had the chances. I think you'd have to dedicate like 7 hours a day, 8 hours a day to just the Nimzo, basically. I think that's about how much time you'd have to do it. You have to have a really good pacing, and you'd have to have a really good like workflow of how you were going to organize your time, so you didn't like just hit a bunch of like fatigue walls. But you can. It's just like I don't know if that's what even a really good player should do to do that. Like I think there's probably a better strategy to learn.
No way. I'm going to do it. So my take is that I'm going to do it. I'm going to cram it in. I mean, for one, I need a reason to study. Like, I'm having such a hard time motivating. I studied maybe 5 hours this week and played like an hour of Bullet today. And it was just really bad. Not good games and just bad chess. So I need a reason to really get down to it. And I've had this course in my Chessable library forever. So if you don't know what Chessable is, anybody in the audience, it's a really great website. I don't work for them. I'm advertising for them for free right now. But the amount of variations and the cool stuff they have on that website is just amazing. So it's a course by Surya Ganguly, and it's basically the complete Nimzo and Tarrasch. So I think I can do it, and I'm just going to use it as a motivation to get that good at it. Because if I get that good at the Nimzo and the Tarrasch, I can handle pretty much anything in 1d4, right? And that sounds amazing, right? And I can play King's Indian, I can play a few other openings against d4. So then I'll be ready for the tournaments that I'm going to hit next year. I'm hoping to play one big tournament a month. Hopefully half of them will be FIDE rated as well, so I can, slowly raise my FIDE rating out of the trash can. Like it's like 1800 or something, 40 or something garbage right now. So like most American players who have terrible FIDE ratings. Okay, but Reti, you did segue into my next question, which is how many hours do you think it would take? Reti's saying about 7 hours a day, which equates to about 49 hours, 50 hours if we can round up. Any idea what you think it will take, Fortuna?
I would say it would take like 8 hours a day. I think I've always heard that from like the professionals that they're putting in like 8 hours a day. So I think that same regimen for this would make sense. And then,
Yeah.
to really know them too, you're gonna have to go over them more than once, and that's kind of, again, with the number of moves, just seems kind of daunting, right? So,
Yeah.
and I was assuming with this too, you're trying to go really, really deep with one opening, and I like that idea a lot. That should make you
Yeah.
well positioned to handle the different variations and stuff that people can play against you and be ready for the event. So,
Yeah, and generally, even if I don't know the variations exactly, like spot on, I'll have a actually probably an incredibly good sense of just what's good and bad in those types of positions. And so even if I don't play the variations perfectly, I'll probably still be able to outplay my opponents. So
Well,
even if at the very end I don't get everything perfect.
Well, even just getting experience in the pawn structures, so you're playing the same pawn
Yeah.
structures all the time, and so you just like know like, oh, I'm gonna get this draw, like, and you can know that with like having any fatigue or having to stress out for an hour or something on this forced draw. So like, I think
Right.
that just having a lot of experience and knowing what your breaks are and what they're not, like, makes it so that you can save your energy in a tournament, which is good. I think that's why you would do this type of preparation, is so that you can save time and save energy. Um, in just like when you need it most, basically. So
Yeah, yeah. And there are a lot of variations that I've never played before. Well, clearly 966
of course,
variations, right? And that are very different from the positions that I've played before. So Ganguly recommends against 4 F3 in the Nimzo. If you can see it in your head, D4, D5. Nope. What? Wrong opening. D4, knight F6, C4, E6, knight C3, bishop B4, the bishop's coming out, and then F3 right away. Against that variation, I'd been playing D5, but he recommends to play C5 right away. And so the structures are completely different than I've been playing, but I just love the stuff that he's putting in there, so I'm willing to dedicate the time to like reformat my memory. Because like you kind of have to sometimes when you have either bad habits or mediocre lines, and everyone does, right? Like you sometimes you just play so many games that you have like
well, some lines like lead themselves to like really like blase play, like they're just like really unclear play, and also if you play them all the time, they become really vague. And sometimes it's really nice when you're like really focused on something, and like I'm doing that with the Grunfeld right now. I want to learn the Grunfeld really, really well, and I haven't like put a lot of time into it before, but I want to break away from a lot of my bad habits from like King's Indian, or a lot of my bad habits from I played a lot of the Unglen Gambit, which is similar to the Budapest, I guess. But
he loves the Unglen.
it's so fun.
That's really cool. I like what you're doing there. And then the other thing that happens too is you learn all the patterns, right? So you start seeing like the traps the traps that you can fall into, the traps your opponent can fall into, pawn breaks that are possible, and then you start to learn too, like the pawn breaks maybe that you should be trying for early on, and then maybe where I tried this last time and I really couldn't hold the position when I created these weaknesses. So yeah, I think you got a good strategy, and like Reti was saying, the pawn structure will be a big thing to focus on for you, and kind of learning the ones that are going to give you a better chance in an end game and getting a feel for that through lots of play. So
yeah, and I don't even know how to structure the time, frankly. If it's going to take 8 hours a day to do that, I have a full-time job. But I can set my own schedule. I'm lucky that way. I can set my own schedule because, well,
I mean, it's just 1 week. I mean, people work 16-hour days for their life. You can work 16 hours for a week for the sake of this kind of cool challenge, and proving to yourself and maybe the world that 20,000 moves is possible. So
yeah, and then buy my wife a couple fancy dinners the next week, right?
You should do that now.
Yeah, you gotta butter her up
after.
now.
You should start early. This is called prophylactic move in chess, kids. So
Prophylactic.
it really is actually.
Gotta defend against the wife. Before you defend on the board, you have to defend against the wife and her attack. Should you spend too much time without her?
She's great. Good. She's good. Anyway, when she's a director, so when she finishes work, she doesn't even want anything to do with me anyway. So
hey, just buying people dinner is always a good idea.
Yeah,
How
it's
about
true.
that?
It's true. Everyone loves that.
Everyone loves that.
Okay.
So let's break into like how you're gonna do this and kind of like make it not so daunting.
Yeah.
and make it into like a bite-sized chunks. That's what I have to do. So I guess you have to look at the tools, the mental tools you're going to need to use,
Yeah.
like for memorization and categorization. You're going to have to go into your workflow, like what you're going to actually be doing every day to do this, and then like your priorities, like what are going to be the most important things to work on, because not all lines are equally important. Like I would go off of statistics of what's the highest probability of the line occurring, and then go from the highest probable to the lowest probable. So like you're still learning all these niche things, and those things are fresh in your mind at the end, but then you really bake in like the most common, most consistent, most, you're going to see them all the time. So you might as well get that most understood before you can break off into novelties or sidelines or
yeah. So then,
like
do I need to use a memorization technique? I know that.
Yeah.
I know that Reti, you are a memory palace kind of guy.
Yeah, I like
You
that
love
stuff.
those memory palaces. Do I want to use a memory palace to categorize those variations?
Well, we were talking before the stream about memory palaces. I think memory palaces have a purpose. Like they're pretty useful, but they're not like the end all be all. I think like just like your computer, like you can save different types of files, and like there's text files which are very small, and there's video files which are very large. And so I think when you're doing lines, like this many lines, doing a bunch of like vivid images of pieces floating around your mind just sounds obtuse and like really not gonna work. I think it'd be much simpler to think
You mean
of
I
it like
can't be like Sherlock?
you can't be like Beth Harmon on this. I think it'd probably be better to just like spreadsheet it out, like, you know, and really like just see the notation almost in your mind.
Yeah.
And like be able to see it on a notative level really well. And so then you can just like get tons and tons and tons of those and kind of hit it like the guys that do like the memory cards, like the card memorization championship, where they like memorize the place of like 50 cards and like 50 decks. And if you do it that way, it'll simplify it down a lot. And then also just
I
like
was thinking of using Chessbase to organize it, but I like the card idea. I might use that.
I think, and you're a poker player, so that actually might be a really fun, easy categorization system.
You know what I should do? I should make giant cards.
Yeah. Just go get some big cards, like some big things from the store, and like, and I would get. I'm serious. I'm like dead serious about this.
Yeah, I'm gonna buy poster board.
Because I think that memory palaces are better for visualization. So I use them when I'm playing at the board if I want to imagine a position that hasn't happened yet, and so that I can like visualize like where the pieces are and like where they could be.
I was gonna do it by chapter, but there's 24 chapters. 24 poster boards.
24 cards. Well, you could just do, how about you do like big cards for like 4 big cards for suits, and you break it into like 4 categories. It might be good. It might be good to like use the cards as like a subgroup, because you have such a good relationship with cards.
And I would recommend too, as you're memorizing these things, kind of have an idea of what the motif or the pattern that you're heading towards is, because you're going to want to like take from all this knowledge, like the things you want to go into. Maybe I've given them a isolated, center pawn, or things like that, and then have those motifs as part of it too. Maybe the back of the card or something. So you're
I have it. I have the plan. I have how you would categorize it. Ta-da! So what you'll do is you're gonna break Eureka. You'll break it into suits. So it'll be spades, which would be a main line. Anything that's main line, always going to happen. Best in the business, we'll put that as a spade suit. So like, right? And if it's going to be more like tactical, like, like a little edgier, pretty cool, we can put that like as diamonds or something like that. If it's going to be more positional, we can put that as hearts.
Oh, that's not a bad idea.
And if it's going to be like something more sideline or like gambit or like whack-a-dack, then you can have that be clubs. And then you use those.
Hold on, I want the hot tip on whack-a-dack.
Whack-a-dack.
What is the whack-a-dack?
E4, E5, knight F3, knight C6, knight C3, knight F6, knight takes E5.
Okay, the Halloween Gambit.
Yeah.
So the Halloween Gambit is clearly whack-a-dack.
It's clearly whack-a-dack. And so like, but then you have like a whole card for like gambit, sidelines, and whack-a-dack, right? And then you have, a whole card for like clear main theory. And then you have like some like edgier ideas, and you have some positional ideas.
And you can put those in different suits, like you're saying. So he organizes it. I like that. Yeah, and then he kind of knows like what he's.
Well, I can draw that shape on the card next to the move, so that encodes the multiple memory types, right?
Yeah, so then you'll
The
basically
shape-
you're making like logs of the tree before the branches go out. So you're
Yeah.
just making like really 4 big like paths basically. Like there'll be like groupings inside of those paths, but like there'll be like main paths that are like thematic. And I think it should start from like mainline book. That should just be like a whole thing by itself, like as robot main book as you can get. And then, edgy, sharp stuff, which I think is important to understand because some people are just edgy and they're sharper. So you should look at that stuff. And then the positional stuff, like what about these like more controlling,
I was thinking
Karpov style
4
players?
categories, maybe like force moves, sacrifices, and positional moves, and then bad moves. So that the bad moves, my opponent makes a bad move.
Yeah, that's a fun
that
way to think of
stands
it.
out as a
Yeah,
shape.
You might find yourself doing this over and over too, where like you take these same 4 things and you apply them to then each pile as you go deeper within that pile. Because an early node might be a main line, but then as you start going through it, you might have like the suit piles, but then stuff inside of it.
Yeah, but now you have the stuff inside, which is the quality of the line. So if it's an ace, that is like the main top line, and if it's a 2, that is literally the bottom of the barrel of this particular category of moves. And so then you can like kind of see the quality, and then you can discern like this is the lowest quality thing you could do in the positional ideas that are possible, and then you can kind of like know that and know what you could do against that. Like it's time to get into the attacking side. It's time to get things started.
We're making assumptions about these 20,000 moves that some of them are in fact inferior, because it could be the case you're just learning strong lines, like multiple strong lines.
I think that I don't think that there's going to be a possible case where there's going to be like one line that like gets you through, right? It's going to be like
he shows inferior moves from your opponent's side.
Okay, cool.
So then, you should have a bucket for that too.
We did
seeing
30
clear blunders.
We did 30 variations on stream, so about 150 moves last week, and that I think within that there were like 6 or 8 variations that were just outright bad for my opponent that I'm just winning. So which is important, super important for you to know when that's the case.
Yeah. With only having a week, you can't really do this, but I know like Bill Harvey in his books, it's kind of cool. He'll show like the first 14, 15 moves in sequence, then show a diagram position, and essentially each page has 4 diagrams. You get 8 per 2 pages, whatever. And they're just basically having you like in each opening kind of see like for both sides, not just white or black in the opening, but shows you both sides like the things that you can win from. So when you find those moments, if you can kind of have like the front of the card have the building up to the moment, and then the back have
That's the nice thing about Chessable, is that he's going to test me on those moments.
Okay, good.
Right. So when you do the review, he'll test you on those moments.
Have you heard of the hummingbird method? Have any of you heard of that before? Have you heard of?
I heard of the woodpecker method, but maybe not.
Woodpecker. That's what. Yeah, sorry, the woodpecker. Thank you.
Wait.
Yeah,
Johnny
the
got
woodpecker.
the hummingbird method, and that
that's
got
even more,
into speed
even
chess.
faster.
You just flap your hands really fast.
That's chess for speed chess. The hummingbird method is
the
how to
hummingbird
become a chess
method is
hustler in
how to
Hollywood.
be. Yeah, that's my method. I'm the hummingbird method, but I'm talking for you, which might be better, which would be the woodpecker method.
It's hilarious.
Okay.
Which is just because like you have a limited amount of time in that format anyway.
Maybe
it's already built around
the hummingbird method, where I cram it all in 1 week.
Yeah, it's even faster. It's like even like less time. No, I think in that one, like it's like about challenging you getting a lot into like one small period of time. Like,
all right.
It's
I
like
want to move on.
rush.
I want to move on. I want to move on to something that a lot of listeners might not think is important, but I think it really is. What physical space should I use, and how should I prepare the space around me to set myself up for success?
That's important. I think that's super important. But I like minutia. I like changing my settings in video games to be exactly right and stuff like that. But I like passive advantages.
Okay.
And stuff.
Well, for example, I've got like hundreds of baseball cards on my desk right now, right? I've got to clear this stuff away before I actually play.
Yeah, I would
basically money also.
Yeah, I would get all the clutter like to an almost 0. Like I'm like that all the time anyway. I think that it's better. And then I would also consider. We talked about this earlier as well, but like grabbing the position, the most common like ace position, and that you're going to see the most of the time, and just have that set up on your house board with pretty pieces all the time. So like that's kind of in the back of your mind whenever you're walking by with your coffee, you just kind of flash and see like that home position of the Nimzo whenever you walk by. I think that would be like a worthy reason to keep the pieces out for a week, and do that. Like I was doing that with when I was learning the Kleshnikov. I would just keep like whatever like the position I was at where I was most resolved with my move. I think the last one I got to was like bishop G5. We were working on that kind of stuff, Dylan, where like bringing the bishop out G5,
Yeah.
kind of in that position there. So like I just had that position there until I kind of came to a better consensus for what I would do with white, right? And then I kind of go back and forth one move at a time to like what I think is like the best or position for that little line, right? And then also whenever I walk by, I'm always kind of reminded like, oh yeah, working on this Kleshnikov.
So maybe I'll set up a demo board.
Yeah, that could be
I'm
good.
a coach. I've got plenty of demo boards.
I mean, yeah, that might be practical, but that might be
hang
what
it
you have to do.
on top of my
I would
Magic
rather
Johnson autographed jersey here on the wall.
I would rather real chess pieces, but yeah, I think that if you
Well, I mean, I'll have a real board
Yeah.
for all the study, right? I have a real board right next to me here, so
Some
I'll
kind of
have
like
that.
small magnetic sets can be nice too, because you can have these like
Oh, that's a good idea.
in the
Oh, yeah.
bathroom, or maybe you're at a business, you're like in line somewhere. You could be looking at like when you're at the grocery store. Like there's really trying to immerse yourself in it and giving yourself
Right.
the easiest. And the nice thing about this thing too is it actually keeps the position, so you can open that up and it can just like have exactly where you left off to continue like thinking. Maybe it's a
Yeah.
line that you're having trouble remembering, or it's a position you want to achieve, and then in your mind you're saying, "How did I get here again?" And you try to work your way back through, like getting to that.
That's how I learned guitar. I basically just had my guitar on my back every single day. I brought it to school, and then like people would make fun of me, be like you're being weird, you're being antisocial. But like I think those are all really positive things because I was like basically saying like I don't care about these losses. I care about this positive thing, which is that I'm immersing myself in this thing, and then I'd be doing more of that than anybody else. And I think that when you want to be the best at something or like be competitive, like be a chess master or something like that, like you need to be doing things better than other people are doing. So like you need to find passive, simple advantages, have really good systems, like really have a goal for why you're doing what you're doing and be active like with like what you're applying, even if it's like having a little bit of passive things here or there, like cleaning up your space or having a position set up all the time.
Mhm.
These are small things, but like I think that if you in the macro, once everything comes together, it's just going to kind of actually make it possible instead of it just being like, oh, that'd be fun. And I think the other thing that's going to be difficult is like, how are you going to keep your endurance throughout your time? Because I have this rule called the capacity triangle, which is like when you wake up, you have like the most capacity possible. And as your day goes on, it just like slowly goes down. And most of the time when people are like doing this kind of stuff, they're like half capacity, and then they go to bed and they're at like zero capacity, right? So I feel like when you're trying to do this stuff, you're gonna have to do it like at the earliest part of your day. It should be like in like the 6 a.m. to like whenever you have to stop, and then like just like give like the largest pie chart of your capacity triangle to this, and then kind of just get by with your job with the remainder.
Well, that's one of the hardest parts about being an adult learner.
Yeah.
Is the fact that you have all these little distractions during the day. So I think you're right. Getting up super early is going to be important.
You got to really, in your mind, you got to be saying things like, I'm going to do the work. Like, what I mean is, you're going to get a lot of lines, and those lines are going to take you to good places. And you're going to have a nice position at the moment that you've achieved the line that you're studying. But when you get to that game and you're playing those games, you have to remember, like, it's still work. Like, just because you got the exchange or the pawn, there's still work in the position. Like, don't... I tend to relax sometimes in casual games, and that's an opportunity to lose the game, right? Because you kind of go, okay, I got my advantage, and you start making moves that are maybe not the most critical, and suddenly your opponent gets a good attack. So don't go to sleep on it just because you studied it. Like really apply yourself in these games and really try to play what you think is the best move beyond your analysis, so you're not allowing them to come back when you've got that advantage. So
I think that's amazing advice right there. I still have to think for myself while I'm doing this.
Oh, that's huge. Yeah, because you're no matter how much
my stream from last week, Reti. Wait, hold on 1 second, Reti. If you watch my stream from last week, I just start going through the variations just like absent-mindedly and paying more attention to the chat than the variations.
Yeah.
And that just doesn't work for memorization.
Yeah, I think that like controlling a lot of variables is going to be like really huge. Like I think that because like I have this philosophy about moving parts, like every moving part is going to be a point of failure at some point, like and so if you can control how many things are going to be changing all the time, like if you can make it really consistent and really iron it through where you just know what you're doing all the time, like that's going to make it possible, you know.
Yeah.
But
And one thing you made me think earlier was at those moments of dip, there's a thing that I do which
Yeah.
is exercise. At
Mhm.
those moments of dip, if you can interject exercise, that will help the rise, you know, your energy level to rise back up. And just I haven't been doing this as much recently, but just the other day I was working. I need to get some work. I got to get this thing done, and it wasn't like a time thing. It was just more. I want my free time, so I got to get this done. I'm super tired, so I just did 10 push-ups right there, and I was like energized and ready to go. Oh, actually, it was about studying. Never mind. It was a pro chess training lecture. It was like 8 p.m. I didn't want to study, but I was like, I can't play video games right now. If I want to be a chess master, I can't just go play video games right now. That's what I used to do, right? Like,
Yeah.
I have to immerse myself, like you were saying, Fortuna.
Yeah, and I like the idea too of like you're really busy. You got 20,000 lines to memorize a lot, or moves to memorize a lot. But while you're doing this, try to have some idea of the middle game plans for some of them, and quiz yourself on that as well. So have like a middle game picture or diagram where you're like, I know in this position, these are things I should be looking for. These are things my opponent is going to be looking for. That deeper understanding will be very helpful to you. And then you can also take those same moves and try to find tactics problems with them. Maybe put those in your bathroom. Like just have a bunch of tactics problems where it's like find the best move just to kind of accompany these other things that you're doing and really help you be best suited for your match.
Yeah, that's the really nice thing about the Chessable website is that you can click an analysis board at any time. If you don't get what's going on in the position, you can click the analysis button. It opens the next window, and you can move the pieces around and figure it out. And then you can add a engine if you want to, but most of the time I don't, because most of the time, if he says that this is bad for black team and ends it right there, you should be able to figure it out if you're really paying attention to the position and you've understood the position. If you didn't understand the position, then you need to take more time with that position, right? Like, and see where those plans are going down the line. But engine does help later, like to apply the engine after you've thought for yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
And kind of more or less checking your logic, right? Because you don't want to you don't want to think that you knew it and go in and be like, oh, apparently what I thought was winning. There's this. I never thought about this pawn thrust that just
that's right,
changes everything. So yeah, you're right. The engine checking, just like in like math class, you might go to the back of the book and look for that answer, but you do the work first, and that's kind of like a check to say, did I get it right? Not a first place you look to try to attempt to do the problem. So very similar here.
Yeah, and I was just thinking that's why we have superhuman chess players right now, because they're able to check their super grandmaster work to put them on another level, right? That's why Magnus and
they can have a teacher
and Geary and everybody in the top 10 is so ridiculously good.
Yeah, well, plus it's our game, right? Because the game is very deep and rich. So you have a game where the base evaluation of the pieces isn't at all what they actually are worth in different positions. So I think a lot of what they're looking for is they're going to be looking to win, knight for rook or whatever it is. So they're going to be looking for that. So I'm going to offer it in a position where I'm better if they do it, like that kind of stuff. They can actually.
I love that stuff.
Yeah, and that's kind of like next level. And the computers are allowing them to have not only the idea of doing that, but then also knowing that it works. And that's kind of where in the past I've said what Garry Kasparov and other people did pre-computer when he was doing that stuff was so much more amazing to me, because now when you're going into those lines and you're alone studying that stuff, you still have that way to check it, which is it kind of takes a little bit off of you. You know what I mean? The other guys had that on them. They didn't have that ability to just know.
That's actually a hot take. Garry Kasparov was pre-computers.
He was around when they were getting bigger.
When they were not good.
Yeah, remember he was beating them a lot, and then I think Joel Benjamin fight a computer some moves. No, I'm just kidding. I'm really gonna upset people with that. No, I'm just joking. No,
that's true.
Edit.
No.
I'm not gonna edit that. As a programmer, if I was making a chess program to play people in chess, I'm not gonna have a GM drive it. Okay? I think I get some Potzer to show that thing can beat him with a Potzer driving, and not a GM. That's just me, though. I try to do things intelligently that protect my integrity, but
That's
just me.
a side tangent for later. talking about.
Yeah, I would love to talk about just chess computing. I do a whole one of these on chess because I did a deep dive. I did
Alright,
a deep dive in that
We'll
stuff.
just shelf
but,
that. We'll put that back on the
we'll
shelf.
put that
Back
to
to
the
you and
side.
these 20,000 moves.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
We'll clearly
I have one more
we'll
thing
do-
to talk about with this,
Okay, go ahead.
with the computer stuff. So, okay, so we can use this. We can use all these tools. We can use these computers, but like I always look back on like 2014 Stockfish and how it loved the French, and then all of these great French players came out around that time, you know, because of how in love Stockfish was with the French. And so if you're just kind of copy pasting what you think is like main theory from the computer of the time, it'll get you overly biased in a line that might be like 0.00000000001% better or whatever from its perspective, or like at least where it's put the most work in. And so then you might be like dodging all these perfectly fine lines just because of like the you know, the taste of the computer. And as like the computers got better, the taste would change in lines, and people would be like kind of like chasing. This happens in music too, where people like are like writing songs and then they're not very popular, and then there's a new type of music out there. They go, oh, well, our band's gonna play that kind of music now, and they try to learn that, and then it's not popular, and they keep kind of just trend chasing, right? I think it's better to approach something with a sense of like, I'm gonna commit to this regardless of the trend, you know, and I'm gonna, because I know it's good, because I have like, we have history of this move. I mean, it's known to be good. And you're taking a much more holistic human approach as opposed to just like chasing the trends of the computer.
Well, that's why the King's Indian is so good.
Yeah,
right?
and all
People were
those
playing
modern
the King's
structures.
Indian
Yeah,
before it was even. I mean,
Yeah.
Kasparov was playing it before it was even like considered good.
yeah, and
People thought it
Anand was
trash.
playing the Catalan
Anand
before.
was playing King's Indian as well. Polgar
Yeah.
was playing King's Indian, right? Like,
Yeah. So there's a lot of people that have like come to the same consensus that like modern computers just figured out. So I think that when people, you know, like it's like, you know, that's the silly part. Is like people are just being so railroaded into like certain lines, but that makes them very easy to book against, because as long as you understand what like the trends of the computers of the day are, you know where people are going to run down, you know, for that time, which is really
just
useful.
play the Tarrasch against the French.
Yeah, I like the Tarrasch.
No,
I
it's
used
just
to-
equal. It's just equal. Don't worry, guys.
I like the Tarrasch. It's
I have
good-
like a 60-70% win rate against like under 24. Anybody under 2400.
that plays the Tarrasch
Yeah.
when you're black.
Nice.
No, as white.
As white. Oh yeah,
Tarrasch is white.
yeah.
Like
So-
I even have a nice draw against like a 2370 player where I was winning, but I just missed.
But wasn't that true? Like around
As
that
the
era,
world do.
2014, wasn't like the French coming up on the board like all the time for you, like in your matches?
I mean,
Right.
I've seen the French a lot. I don't know, through my whole career. People love the
I
French.
guess so. It's fun.
I
I've
played
seen
it
off
but
and on.
I started hating it. I played it early in my career.
I guess I wouldn't see the French very often because I usually play D4 and like knight to F3. I play moves that
Oh,
kind of work away
Hardly
from it.
ever
So.
gonna see.
Yeah, it would be.
you guys
know,
had the Sicilian
The only way you'll
grapple.
see the French is if you play.
It'd be like a
D4
Queen's
or
Gambit
D6.
declined or something. You know, so have it like a different name or be.
Well, you can play against it if they play D4, E6, right? E4.
Yeah.
You could set it up if you wanted to.
I usually like the Catalan and stuff. But yeah, you're right. I could definitely go
Yeah.
into that line if I wanted to. Just
I mean, don't do it if you don't know it.
well, I know the French very well. I just don't choose it usually. And then
Yeah.
I got schooled by Clara, and I'm playing a match against a woman, a very strong woman here in Michigan, and the one loss I had is when she played the French against me, and I have 2 wins with the perk, and then our other game was a draw. So it's been pretty fun.
What was her
I
lo-
absolutely hate the perk.
What was that?
I don't like the perk either. I mean,
Yeah.
I have a really good win rate against the perk.
Trash.
But
I just
It's,
I
I
like it
think-
because it encourages attacking players to come at you really hard early and lose pawns.
That's true.
So a lot of
That's
people
true.
a lot of people attack into it and just lose material by doing that.
I've
or
lost a lot
they'll
of
lose
games.
squares. They'll like lose squares that are important for an endgame, or so it's.
Yeah.
I like the fact
Or-
that you can
or
apply
they'll
yourself
go-
with it.
I like openings that make people go for childlike like attacks. I like kind of in my later
kinda true, I
years
guess.
have gone back to the openings I played as a child, like the Italian game and things like that. And I play them because like I feel like people make childlike mistakes almost
Yeah.
nostalgically in
They
them.
do.
You
Or
know,
no,
like,
I think it's just because they get bored or don't understand the positional.
yeah, because they might have like they feel like they've learned that and they moved on to some other opening, right? And so like now they put Sicilian Night Order for something, so they don't do it anymore.
And then to
But like, yeah, and
was
then they
gonna
fall into some funny stuff because like they
Yeah.
haven't touched her since they were a kid.
The biggest thing you see, I think, is when you play these openings that are more cramped or aren't attacking the center as much, people tend to attack with less pieces. So they launch an early attack before they've castled, or they attack with 2 pieces instead of their whole army. And then these sad attacks, the childish thing that happens is they're actually helping you get development on those pieces, pushing them back. They lose all kinds of time, and suddenly in a game where they thought they should be a lot better with a certain move that they played, they're not better. Either they gave up the bishop for the knight because they played it out to pin the knight, thought that would be really strong, and then when the bishop was threatened, they're like, well, maybe I shouldn't retreat it, maybe I should take the knight. I mean, it's like those kind of decisions, right? They start walking down bad trees. So make sure you avoid that in your games too. If you put a piece on a square, be prepared to either move it to the other square and not take if you know it's bad for you, or because you can have like those I call them like decisions that are based on emotion, right? So it's like you start talking to yourself and you're like, man, I played the bishop out there. Now I'm committed to take, and maybe you're not committed to take. Right. Have that patience, to think about the position.
Or like I've been, at least in the near recent future, I've changed this. I used to do basically what you were talking about before, like attacking with 2 pieces and being insane. But I've gotten much better at developing my pieces, trying to get everything together, moving things towards like greater whole attacks. But I feel that I also get stuck.
He's become a real boy.
Yeah, but I also feel that I get stuck.
He was Pinocchio before, just lying in every position, just lying the whole time. He's like, "This is good, guys. Believe me."
And then
and swindling a billion people.
It's true. It's true.
It's funny how if you win enough games, the moves begin to feel better. That's why they talk about the danger of playing. If you play people that are significantly lower rated than you and you win a lot of games with inferior moves, you
guys, I'll be right back.
Someone's
dropping to leave me. Sorry, 1 second. I apologize.
No problem.
You guys continue on.
He's dropping off. Oh no.
But
we've bored Reti.
No, but as you get ready for this, I'm really excited for it. I think you got, a very nice challenge you've come up with for yourself, and then it's really like kind of what Reti was doing there with the organization of the different, either suits or however you're going to organize those paths, and then really dedicating yourself and giving the time to it, and decluttering too. I mean, you want to have that nice free mind state, because otherwise what'll happen is, like with myself, you start thinking things like, maybe I should move that, or maybe I should vacuum, or I should, like your mind goes to other tasks. So you really want to try to get yourself in a situation where you're excited for this. There's things about chess that probably excite you a lot since you're working on being a master. So you try to like get those things going. Like, what is it that really makes you happy? Is it the idea of having a better piece? Is it the idea of giving them a weakness? And you're thinking about these lines for these purposes, and then organizing your work towards that. So you're not just freeform memorizing these moves, not knowing the reason, but actually looking at the moves and saying, what does this do for me? Why, why in this situation would I play this C5 break? Like, am I hoping for them to capture, and does that somehow weaken the pawns or make my pieces more active? Or, is it something else? Like, what are the different things that are happening here? And then each of those trees, as you learn them, to say, okay, so when they captured this happened, this guy got really active. When they pushed, they gained space. But now because they pushed, they lost a little bit of time, and that can become weak later on. But you're saying all those things to yourself, so you have an idea of like the good and the bad and everything that's happening, and then you get those critical lines. You're like, man, this is the one where I'm just not sure how to break this. Like, I won't have the weakness, I won't have the development. Maybe it's just like the static leaves the piece there, keeps the tension. What do I do then? What piece belongs on what square then? That kind of thing. So you're, no matter how it goes, you got that nice positive mental image of your path forward. So I think that's what Chessable tries to do for us. So,
yeah, I think so too, and I feel like I'm just lucky as well to have this kind of chess memory. I did a course with I am Lawrence Trent on Chess24 like 5-6 years ago. At the Vegas tournament, at the National Open this summer, I remembered a sideline 22 moves deep. And I remembered exactly where all my pieces belonged. And some of it was natural. It's like, okay, I'm moving my bishop to win a tempo off the queen. And then I need to move my knight into the center. But white's getting some pressure, and I don't fully understand what's going on. I took my time. I really worked my way through it. I remembered the entire sideline.
Right, and
Like,
that's where the understanding comes in, right? Because it's like you're not just
Yeah.
making the move because you memorize. You're making the move because you're like,
That's right.
I need to challenge the center. I need to reinforce
That's
that
right.
attack. I need to, like you have the idea of like the reason for why you're doing this stuff, and then it doesn't even feel like memorization. It's like this nice flow of like understanding and having that kind of thing that's helping you do really well in the games. And that's what I try to stress that with students and when I work with too, because you want to break them from these ideas of like just trying to rote memorize 14 moves to be better to try to win. You want them to again do the work, like work to understand, work to know the pawn structures.
Yeah, or some impossible goal that they have. They're like, I want to checkmate now. And you're like, well, you have to work up to it. You need to reposition your pieces. You need to figure out where their defensive pieces are. There's a lot of things you have to do. I want to win their queen. I'm like, well, how are you going to win the queen now? She's on d8 right now, and you can't even get over there.
Yeah.
So, a lot of students want to jump all the way to, the end.
If I was to write a book on chess, I would have it go something to the effect of like, make strong moves that support your pieces, that just try to like, play careful, safe chess, and then only attack when your opponent makes you attack. And what I mean by that is like they give a weakness, they basically tell you your pieces should be doing something here, or maybe they have pieces that are on one side of the board and you have more on the other side of the board, so you attack where your pieces are. But try to have the board communicate that you should attack, not your mind. Like if you're thinking I want to attack them, that's not how the game should go. The game should be like the pieces telling you, I need to be more active, or I'm, like you're looking at the board and you say, now I've got an overwhelming majority of pieces over here. I should be able to have the crushing kingside attack. Those kind of things. Not just like these like I want to attack. That's
Yeah, and then actually I heard a GM say this the other day, that you need to talk to your pieces, ask them how they're feeling, ask your pieces if they're happy. I just love the imagery of it. And
we'll start doing that on stream. That'd be awesome. They're like, you talking to us, Fortuna? No. I'm talking to my knight right now. I'm talking to my king's knight.
Exactly.
Reti, we're not getting volume.
Reti, you're muted.
So I was saying that I was like, I'm throwing in things, but they just ignore me. No, I was saying that you had to be a therapist for your French bishop.
Yeah.
Like
a C8 bishop.
Like the future is so bright, but like right now, if you could just trade off for a night, I think that would be fine. If you could just die for a night,
please, something on the board, take me.
Take me.
All right, I think
and my miserable life.
It's about the time to move on to the second part of this talk, that I think is going to be very challenging, and that most of the viewers probably haven't even thought about, is how do we measure success or failure through this, right? Obviously, it's going to be a process, and I'm going to miss moves, I'm going to forget things, but I do want to find some objective measure to figure out how much I was able to learn, just maybe even just a percentage, or even a spot check. Reti does 5 random variations the next day that I finish.
So there's a lot of ways to check yourself. You can use like ChessBase has things built in to check you. You could use games against like maybe myself or Reti here as ways to check yourself to say, okay, am I understanding it as I play someone? Am I able to bring those things forward? But there's a lot of ways to measure yourself here that go well beyond just those lines you're looking at. Or maybe your goal is just to be able to tell the world, I learned 20,000 moves, and that was my objective. So now you want to show that has happened. So we really need to clearly define what your goal is, and then we can actually do metrics towards that goal to say what you did or didn't achieve.
Complete comprehension of 966 variations. That is ambitious.
Okay. Well, then how about, what if we did it like this?
If that's my goal.
If that's your goal. So then you would create your spreadsheet with your poker suits set up with your different lines, and you would try to figure out every single one, right? And we'd have like a shared Google Doc or something like that we could use for all the lines. And then I can kind of quiz you on certain trees and variations. It would literally just be a spreadsheet. I think you just take a spreadsheet and you'd spreadsheet out the Nimzo into a bunch of if this then this sequences, basically, like brute force code it so you know like what's going to happen the majority of the time, and then you're going to primarily focus on like the center pillars of that particular thing. And I think once
easier to put it all into one ChessBase file.
Well, yeah, but Yes, but like I just mean like conceptually, visually, like I think that it's important to understand like what's going to be happening. Also, my little sub thing is it might be nice if it's not with chess pieces, because my whole point was like if you can simplify the file down to notation size in your mind instead of
Yeah.
being that it might be something to help you memorize more positions faster.
If you could
Because the
wrap the moves
smaller,
like in JSON or something where all the moves can go into a single cell in Excel, I do like Reti's idea because then you could expand that like in Notepad++ and like do like they have a JSON formatter in there that would make it nice for you. But the idea is you could condense it down. Where ChessBase, you're right, you can see it really well in there. But then as you want to go to different lines, it gets really complicated because it all meshes into like the
yeah,
same thing
it's like
in
a
that
big
tree.
block.
I'm not
Yeah.
sure you're going to make separate files in ChessBase for each one, but then they get harder to access. What Reti's describing would actually give you like fingertip access. So you could build a system in Excel that's like mapping to ChessBase, where it's like I made this file in ChessBase with these moves to go look at, but now I'm being asked the question in Excel. This line, you give a couple moves and you say, how does it continue? And then the ChessBase maybe has the answer, and it's got a
'Cause-
reference note
yeah,
there.
because chess base you could do a couple or a
I
few.
think
But
I
I
would
feel-
need to go to Fortuna Chess School for about a week before that, though. Or
No, but you
Fortuna's
don't. You
No.
don't need. No,
coding
no.
academy.
We'll,
It
we'll
doesn't-
talk.
it's-
We'll talk
it's-
together. We'll talk together after
Yeah.
this or something. But this is not what I'm describing is not hard. I think we can get
Yeah.
this working for you.
I understood. He understood. We even if Fortuna and I make it for you,
Yeah.
like I think he understands what I'm talking about, so that we can make something like this, and then you can feed the information from the Chessable and from ChessBase, so that we can organize it. But then you'll have like a really quick flow chart of
Mhm.
like everything that you're gonna need to know.
And I think that's
And
important.
then you can organize like the sub files of like like particular lines. So then you can have a chess base have like 3, 4, 5 variations in it. But then you'll have like the macro sheet, which will have everything. And that's so that you can kind of really appreciate the scale. It's going to be really big, And then two, it'll help you understand like how often these things are going to happen.
And
Then you can maybe
even if you want to take a subset of these moves that you're learning and put them in Excel, I would make the Excel be like these are the things I really, really, really care about. So as you have these aha moments of, he might share things about people can make this mistake. Maybe you don't care about that. You're like, I could recognize that mistake. I don't really need this. But there might be a line where you're like, oh, the C5 break here is, or whatever move is really, really good here. And then that's what you're referencing. You're going back to look at that piece in particular in that Excel that kind of has those answers and questions for you. It's for directed learning, man, because I feel like so often we try to use like a piece of software that someone else uses for a task, but it's used for a task that isn't the thing that we're currently doing. And your task is much different than like a general chess-based task. Like my biggest thing I do in chess-based is review my games online, right? So I would play a game, go in chess-based, think about it
Yeah.
myself, engine
find
check
the
it when I'm
3
done.
other lines. Yeah, you look at the 3
and
other
it's-
lines that are come up in your game.
And when
that,
I'm
like,
done, there's a couple sub variations, but it's very easy to take in. It's not, arrow forward 5 choices or 25 choices when you arrow forward. That's the problem with the structure. If you just use ChessBase for all of it in one file, is that navigation will just be almost impossible, and comprehension
Yeah.
I think will go down. And you also have a visual answer right away. So you're not. We talked about you doing the work. So if it's in Excel, I think that's going to encourage you to mentally, maybe it's with your board or whatever else, but you're going to mentally go there, as opposed to just looking at it and having it kind of just be there for you. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, avoid active learning can be defined by like your posture, by your like your eyes and your mental state, but also remove like the monkey learning. Like if you find yourself just tapping arrow key forward, going like move, 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 you are not actively learning. You are literally
Well,
just
yeah, I
hitting
mean,
for the
that's-
palette of knowledge.
That's why I'm using a
Right.
separate board for sure. I mean,
Well-
everything I study chess-wise, almost
but-
everything is on a board.
Exactly, but I think what's
Yeah.
going to happen, which will be really cool.
But maybe for the viewers, you're right. Like, there are a lot of people probably do monkey.
Yeah, just monkey tap through the moves of the book. Like
or they simon it because Chessable encourages the simon activity of like red, blue, green, yellow. You know what I mean? Like they just start like they're just tapping those colors, but they aren't thinking. And
red
like,
all day,
and,
baby.
they can get it right in Chessable the whole way through the course. And then I ask them like, what opening did you just learn? They're like, I'm not really sure. You know what I mean? Like,
I hit red the whole time. I hit
Yeah.
the red button. Yeah, so you can get the thing that's really frustrating is you call me out about this all the time in chess is like because I'm very intuitive. I came from a lot of speed chess and came from a lot of bad chess, right? And so I come from a very intuitive place. You're like, you got to calculate. You can't be so intuitive. You can't be coming from a place that's so like where you feel that's the right idea. But the problem is that like when you're right a lot, you know what I mean, and then like you're having to spend time to explain like why you're right, as opposed to be like, that was the first thing I thought of, like in a millisecond looking at the position, and now we're looking at this for 5 minutes to prove that that's what I'm thinking. But like you're basically trying to split that edge between like being really confident and like intuitive and knowing what's going on, and then being able to be humble enough to be like, okay, well that's the intuitive idea, but then let's see if there's some weird stuff here that I didn't think about. Kind of having the humility to take the time, you know, even though that might be instantly correct, and that's not the issue. It's more about just being cognizant. That's why I really like that video that I sent you of that. Is that Ivan Chuck that I sent you?
Even
Dylan?
Chuck, yeah.
Yeah, even Chuck, yeah. Yeah, Chucky, just like going through all the sidelines and being so excited and passionate about like every single sideline that didn't happen but would have been sick if they did happen, and he had to think about. And so kind of just switching gears away from being intuitive and going away from things that are natural. Yeah, I'll post that. That's a great video. That's like, he's like my calculation hero as far as like just like how excited it makes him to calculate, you know, and it reminds me not to just be an intuitive, you know, nothing burger where like because it just worked for so long, you know, like it gets you to such a certain point where you can beat 95 to 99% of people like off of intuition alone. And then you're like, why calculate? You know, you kind of like, you can just like float through like a very blasé-faire and like still succeed. And so then there's really no incentive to play much stronger until you're playing great players. And then you're like, oh, well, this is never going to fly. And all those games I played that were not very thoughtful are now making this harder for me to be successful.
Yeah.
And
okay,
so,
but we're a little off topic here, because what I really want though is some relatively objective measure of my performance. But the problem is, you won't be able to test me on 966 variations.
well, we could use the spreadsheet.
So,
So I could use the spreadsheet.
But listen. You haven't.
Okay.
Hold on. Just hold on a second. Like, it'll take you a really long time to test me on that many variations. So, what?
Samples. Like
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, take 5 or 10 random variations and then judge the percentage.
Yeah.
And then there's a separate question in there: is what percentage is passing?
If you let us quiz you, we can go next level. Like, we can just take things and ask you questions you might not even be expecting. Like, we'll have looked at the lines with you, and we can ask you questions about the position. So it'll be like, you know, we know this is one of the lines you go into. What can you say about this position? You know, like, and I want like pawn structure things, end game plans, middle game plans, king safety. You know, what pieces belong on what squares, all that kind of stuff. You know.
Well, that's adding in a lot, though.
It
right?
is, but it is. It is.
Wait.
You asked to be measured for your effectiveness with this training. I think your training should prepare you to be able to understand the position. So the more you can tell me about, like, we could do a lot less sampling.
Okay, give them a number then. Like, okay, 5 points for what you say.
Oh yeah.
We
can definitely score it.
You can score it.
Yeah.
So I think
I want some sort of score. So
okay,
that
here's the score.
Can, like, compare.
So we would do 5.
We
We would pick 5 lines like at random, right? And then we would just go into some of the variations of those lines, right? And we'd pick 5, and you'd
have to promise me you don't pick the most ridiculous, crazy ones just to mess with me.
I think I would try to pick them as randomly as possible. I would try to pick the lines in a very fair way, but it could be that they are tricky. I'm not going to avoid the tricky line.
Randomly. I would pick them in a nice curation that is relative to the statistics of how probable it would happen.
Mm-hmm.
So like I would probably prefer to put something that's going to be on the board instead of like putting like 5 random sidelines that you're probably not. It's not going to be as useful. I'd rather make sure that you are doing well in the main line. You know, like we look at a couple of really strong sidelines, and then maybe 1 novelty, and then 1 trash can. Like, how do you punish this trash can? You remember this trash can where you can just like sack your queen and then instantly win? Remember that one? Like, and then have one of those.
I like doing a percentage of main line, like 60%.
Yeah, 60% main line. I think is what you should do.
And then, then just 40% sidelines. So like.
Yeah,
let's
maybe 30%. Yeah, 30% sideline. Yeah, 10
from main lines.
Yeah.
And then randomly, but okay, hold on. First first, there are 24 chapters. So, how to do that strategically? That's a question. 24 chapters, right?
I wouldn't mind seeing this material myself to help out with the quiz part of it. I think the more that I'm familiar with the material, the better I can then try to quiz you on things. And I still like. I talked a minute ago kind of about the idea of like maybe static and dynamic, and the idea of just keeping the position, like 3 different possibilities. One, like statically, like maybe. Well, I guess it'd be a different word than static. Static's keeping the same. You'd have static, dynamic, and one other thing that's like the other move that they do that isn't the thing, I guess. But I like the idea of having these tensions in the position and having you understand which way to go, I guess, and then know your path through with each one. Like with those 5 lines you gave, there might be a point, like critical moment, right? And in that critical moment, I'd want you to be able to tell me, if they do this, show me the line. If they do this, show me like just maybe just 3 of them within that line.
Yeah,
I got it.
To try to have it be more.
I know what we're gonna do. So we're gonna
testing you better, I guess.
I figured it out. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna learn 5 lines of my choosing. He's going to learn 5 lines of his choosing. And so together we're going to have 10 lines where we've mastered in our little subset, our little our little house.
Fortuna. Hold on, you volunteered Fortuna. Is Fortuna willing
I would
to
do
sign
that.
up for that?
Heck yeah. I do it for my students all the time. I learn new lines. I love that.
Yeah, I do.
All right.
It's just, we're just going to make like a little...
Okay, the Reti
like
Chess Club, the Fortuna Chess Club is on the way for battle.
Yeah. So we're gonna develop some Nimzo lines for white and black. We're gonna
from the Chessable course. I think we should stay in his wheelhouse.
We'll stay in the wheelhouse. We'll pick whatever we want to do.
Random Scandinavian lines like, hey, you gotta know this.
No, but then we'll kind of make a house so that we can play proficient practice games in those lines. So like when you're playing this particular like pawn c5 break, like on move 4 or whatever, like whenever you're doing something very specific, then I can maybe be someone that you would look at for that. But if you're doing this other side, then he could be someone you look at for that. So then we can kind of be like micro aficionados. Like you're going for like the whole thing, but we're like kind of like just being more acute because we're not going to put as much time in as you are right now. So we'll just kind of like focus on like a couple of lines that we think are nice, interesting, that we can be more authorities in like talking about and like knowing what the dynamics of that position are. And then we can say with authority that you did a good job or a bad job.
And then I can get separate grades from each one of your chess clubs.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
Exactly. I like that idea.
Yeah.
Maybe you're no longer in the club. Maybe we kick you out based on how you do it. We just say this guy didn't show a proficiency
0.
level. His proficiency isn't where we need it to be to be in the club. It would reflect poorly on me what you've done here. No, I'm just kidding.
You're not good enough.
It is not good enough for Fortuna. We're gonna need you to really do some work here, you know.
The Rubinstein variation is what we care about in this club.
If you're not,
position is sometimes better for white, sometimes it's worse.
Hey, you're plus minus. You go plus minus. You're not my student. That's all I'm saying. It's like, get the plus.
You understand? You understand?
No, this will be fun. I like the 5 line idea. I think that's really good, and then really know those lines well, and then we come at you.
I got a random joke.
You mentioned the author earlier. You have to give me a link to this class, or so I can get the course. I'll buy the course or get involved with it. I'm excited about this. It kind of helps me guide my learning as well. I'm always looking for ways to kind of guide my chess learning, and I like this idea.
Yeah, I mean, Ganguly is an incredibly strong grandmaster from India, and his stuff is just so well done. I do his pro chess training courses that Grandmaster R.B. Ramesh started, who was Anand's coach.
Okay.
So all these people are connected to Anand. Anybody in Indian chess, like Anand is the pinnacle of all their chess. Well, they're pushing it beyond him as well, because who knows what I can't say his name.
They're really good.
I was gonna say, I think you captured that perfectly. I think you got kind of mutters off, and
they just call it Prague because
you're gonna learn 20,000. 960 variations, but you can't remember one guy's name. But it's okay. We'll trust this is gonna go fine.
I remember how to spell his name, but I do not remember how to say his name.
Okay, that's fair then. Okay,
that's a different thing. Yeah. I don't think Indians can even say his name. I'm doubtful that they can. Anyway,
really,
I bet you're gonna get 500 responses of just people saying his name properly.
How many?
Exactly.
Right?
That'll be the responses on the video. It'll just be everybody saying it.
It'll just be tags to people that are just saying it naturally. Like
say Prague's name right now.
Yeah.
That's my next contest. All right,
that'll be
that
next
sounds
week when you're done with
good.
this
Links in the video saying his name
So,
correctly.
well, what percentage is passing though? What percentage? Do you
I
should
think
be
that
passing?
you should have to get a B. I think that you have to get
Like
at
80%
least
or better.
80% or better, or else you failed our test. I think that you can
Maybe
miss one.
we have
from-
different schools. I'm gonna say A minus. I mean, you're trying to be a master.
all right.
I don't think
Yeah.
like B is B a master? I don't think it is. I think you have to be in the A range, A minus, I'd say 90% or above. Or what
That's
are we
true.
really doing here? That's kind of
No,
where I
I
think
like
you need
that.
to be.
I think
you're
you're
not
right.
trying to be like I'm a class A, right? You're not trying to be class A or just like someone that's like good at the game. You're trying to be like one of the elite players, and you're playing other people that are also trying to be the elite players, and that's what you got to keep in mind. You're not just
I like that. 9 out of
Yeah.
10. I like it. So you have to get 9 out of 10. You can get one wrong, and if you get one wrong at the very beginning, you better tighten
I
up.
know, right?
Yep.
We're tight.
What if you get the first one wrong and you clutch it
Well,
out?
we can give you partial credit though. I'll do it this way. So let's say we ask for a line, and you try giving a line, and the thing that you give us is still like plus minus. Like your side is still doing very well in the position. You just didn't get the like top line that we were looking for. I think there should be partial credit there, and that'll be
Okay,
good.
so he can get 8.5. If he can get 8.5 or above, then then we're
Yeah,
happy.
because it would round up. All right, I could
I
see
mean,
that.
your clubs can do it differently.
I like that idea. I don't really want to have this like everyone participated. You're all winners. Like no, like you're trying to
No,
be a
murder
master.
them.
Yeah.
This is.
You know
This-
what?
this is pass fail.
100%.
Well,
100%. No failure. If you miss any of these,
That's
then
what a
you are.
grandmaster coach would say.
Yeah, 100%. If you wanted to, actually, I have changed my answer. You have to do 100% of this, or else
Yeah.
you fail.
Excuse
It
my
is
language.
a pass or fail
Oh, wow.
situation. You are a master,
The
or you
Reti
are a
Chess
scrub.
Club is going to be a harsh grader, I can tell.
No, but
Wow.
I think this is important because if we take it if we treat it like think about public school. Can everybody in public school be a master? No. But many of them are going to pass, right? So that
Yeah.
bell curve, we got to put you on that higher end of like.
You're on the hockey stick, buddy. You're on the
Yeah.
end of the
Well,
hockey
and-
stick.
And we
And
want to
I'm-
hold
I'm
you
gonna-
that level of excellence too. I don't want you to be out there just like, well, I can muddle my way through this and probably find the moves. I mean,
And
maybe
this
maybe
is
there's a
what-
time element. When you're doing my 5 lines, maybe put time on it too, so you're not like because the game's gonna have time. So you might say you have like a half hour per line, or you have some fixed amount of time to prove it. So we're not.
Yeah,
Maybe the test is actually for the entire line test, he has the length of time he'd have for a classical match. Like he'd have about an hour.
No, I mean I don't have time. I
Or
won't
two.
have time for that. Like,
What do you
You
mean?
won't have.
The
We don't have
length
time
of
for
time.
that. What?
for a classical match.
No, he's saying
like,
he's saying the time
for
of the
your
match
test-
on the test.
So your clock that you'd have at a classical match, so like 90 minutes or something like that. That's about how long you should have to do our 10 lines and pass.
Oh,
So you
all
have-
10 lines.
Yeah, so you have like
Oh,
your
okay.
half of the clock that you'd have in a classical match as like a
Oh, we're gonna
reasonable
change the
amount of
clock.
We
time.
can actually put you on the clock too on a chessboard
Yeah.
with us.
Yeah.
We'll make a move.
Yeah.
Our time will go when it's our turn. We'll make a move,
Yeah.
and now you're back on the clock, and you have a time setting where you have to get these lines. Maybe it's whatever it is. It's something where we're playing.
You should do the same standard like you do like at a Vegas Open or something like that. Like you should put like the same classical like with the delay and stuff like that you would have. And then like once you finish a variation, you stop your clock. And then like after you make each move, and so you just use the clock as normal. And so that's all built into your muscle memory and all built into your cues. That would be really fun too, just to like go through.
This will tell you where you
and-
need to study too. If you use the clock technique of like putting
You can
yourself
see
on,
where it's
like
dragging.
you can maybe like tap it. When you're looking for the next thing, you can like tap the clock to stop your own time and then hit it again. But if you're finding that like for some of the things when you're looking for them, it's taking a minute and a half, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, and it starts going like maybe 10 is the threshold. Where you say over 10 minutes, this isn't working for me. I have to really study this line better. Like you can
Yeah.
use that as like a measurement, right?
You can
So-
measure it as we go. I think
Yeah.
it's going to be really helpful because then you can see like
some of the lines will
what's
come
not
natural
popping.
for you. Like you just mentioned
Right.
memorizing like 22 moves in the French or whatever move opening that was. That's awesome, and being able to come back to that, 5 or 6 years later, that's your aptitude level. That's fantastic. But now we want to just kind of get some metrics on you, even when you're not with us, that are helping you know where you need to improve and what you need to study. Just like
Yeah,
if
so-
you're,
Well,
So, like,
to be honest, I don't want to just be, I don't want to just be a master, right?
Yeah.
That's not that important to me. What's important to me is that I play very well against strong players,
okay.
and I have a back pocket goal that I want to accomplish this year. I want to beat one or more grandmasters in a tournament. So I want to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Because if I do that, I will become a master because my rating will skyrocket just by winning against one grandmaster, right?
Mm-hmm.
So to do that though, I have to be really good, and you're right about that.
It's not even just your rating or like things will skyrocket that way. It's mentally. I think you'll have like a mental breakthrough where it's like, I just beat a grandmaster if that happens, and like that somehow gives you confidence that now when you're playing a 2200 player that isn't a grandmaster, you have that thought of like, I beat a grandmaster. I can certainly find my way through against this player. I should be able to, not that you can just dismiss the game being challenging, but you have that thought of like, I've beaten someone stronger, so that
I'll be
should
okay.
give you more confidence.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I played one online tournament during COVID, and I got a position against Elshan Mordiabadi where I was winning, and I knew the right move, but I didn't have the confidence to play it in that game. It was a rapid game, so it's going to be even harder in a rapid game to beat a GM. But still, I knew the right move. I had the right move in my virtual hand. I was about to play it.
And we all talk about this, right? Play the board, not the player. You have to play the board, not the player. And so if the board's telling you to attack, the board's telling you to make a move, you make the move the board's telling you to make, not make a different move because you're like, well, I'm playing a GM, this might be dangerous. Like, if you don't mix it up a little bit, you have no chance to win. Maybe you do that just to have the chance to win, because now you're creating complications that, even though they're very good at the game, they can still make mistakes, so.
Yeah, and they do.
And they do. So I was playing somebody who is, I would say, way, way, way worse than me. And I played a really bad opening, a really bad middle game, and a really bad end game. And so the fact that I'm a higher level, all three. Yeah, well, so the fact that I'm stronger than him is irrelevant, because if you just play bad, then it's over, right? Like that sounds silly, but like I think people think that. People think that hot take. They think
play bad,
you'll lose. But no. But here's the thing: as someone who's swindled a lot of people, like you might get used to the idea that like you'll be able to kind of go over the top of that person just because like you're just better. Or the psychological will work them down. Like Jacob was saying, like you don't want to attack that player. You want to attack the pieces. You want to attack the board. You want to be correct. But I feel that like when you get comfortable or lazy, you can just like go like, I'm great, I'll be fine. What could go wrong? Like my hands can beat him with my eyes closed, and then if you play like that, you will be wrong. Like and you will lose to whoever that is.
You have the confidence of your line. Like you know what you've studied, so you have the confidence of, regardless of how strong they are, I know these are the moves that put people down. Like these are the moves that take them out of the game. Like if I keep doing this on the board, I'll be better. Like regardless of what strength they have.
Yeah, the game I was telling you about, Fortuna, at the National Open, was against like a 2350 strong master player, and I just knew it. And I was playing it, and the moment that he offered a draw was when I blundered. So I blundered, and then he offered me a draw.
That's kind of lucky,
right?
Guess. Yeah. It's
not just lucky; is I put him on the back foot. Right. With my confidence in my play. Now, was it an obvious blunder? No. It wasn't like a super obvious blunder. It was
sounds like my last match.
Yeah.
That last match in Vegas that I played against that kid.
No, explain it. The audience doesn't know.
You don't know?
I don't remember.
I was playing Catalan the entire event, and I was being very positional, and then just like the last game, like I was just like, I'm just gonna send it. I'm just gonna play E4.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I'm just gonna attack this guy from move 2 to move 40. And I just attacked the entire time. And I had his bell ringing so hard. I was like down 2 pawns, but he was like everyone in the entire tournament hall had left. He was just like.
Now I remember. They did an analysis after the game, and the guy was like, I just wasn't sure if I was winning, and I'm just looking at the position, and the guy's just crushing Reti. And I'm just like, I mean, it is easier for an outside observer to say that, of course, but still,
and also just like the fact that he went through all of these hoops, right, mentally. I think that like if you put that player through a lot of hoops, and then they get a moment to take a breath, they might just want to leave the game entirely. They might be like, dude, I'm off today. Can we just call it good? And like you just slipped up, so like you probably want to call it good. You're not going to want my neck anymore. We can maybe just call it here. I feel like that type of contract or arrangement is something that really good players have in their mind of just knowing when to kind of tap out and like
Wait,
kind of
what?
step
The
up.
contractor arrangement. Hot takes with Reti.
A psychological chess comes in too. So when you're learning your lines, if there are lines where you might look at it and say, my opponent will feel very good here, but you're aware the computer evaluation has them being worse, those are great lines for you, man. Because
I like those a lot. Yeah.
What'll happen in a tournament match, especially, is if someone thinks, like if they mentally even just think that they're better, and then they become equal, even just equal, it can mentally be very devastating to them. Like, I thought I was doing so well here. What's happening? And then as you continue to play the accurate moves in your line, you basically beat them up mentally before you even begin winning the game. Like
That's true.
they can just almost collapse based on this was going to be so easy. I had such freedom of play, and then they're like, oh my gosh, like I can't.
That's exactly how the Ungland works. Like you basically just make them do this like shape where they're like, oh, everything is lines up, everything's so defended. This knight protects this, then this is like then they just get mated because like they're making a shape that's like very like comfortable and easy to make. Like if you can, I like to package things in a way where people go like, oh, this is going to be really easy for me. You know, I got everything I ever wanted. You know, like I love giving you what you want, but it's poison. You know, like that's like my favorite way to win if possible. Because
Hey, Reti puts the package together and gets the contract signed with the contractors.
So let's get back to what you're doing. We know we're going to measure. We're going to do 5 lines each. We're going to come back.
Okay.
We're going to measure. You got to get 90% or
like
better.
that.
Or we say you failed. And you know, don't even bother going to the tournament. You got to try again. Like,
yeah,
you gotta get
resign.
ready. You can't go play a tournament till you do this. This is
yeah.
Like, how about that? I'll just go again, right?
There you go again.
After
You
my
keep
week.
running
just
it
keep
back.
running it.
Well,
And
I
then-
hope
well-
I do it. I hope it works next week because I gotta
Well-
go on vacation.
My first joke I did at the beginning of this, I actually stand by. You're like, it was like, you can, but should you? Like at the very beginning of this whole
Yeah.
discussion. And so I think the way this will work in the sport right now, it'll just be for the fun to challenge your capacity to do it in burst. But I think what will actually happen is, like you said, it'll just be inspiring and it'll create a roadmap for like the more sustainable long term of how you'll take on this line. Because I think that
And
realistically,
we should also get clear on what the line is. I think we've said Nimzo on the stream, but there's like Nimzo Larson, there's Nimzo Indian. Like we need to know your Nimzo if we're gonna do this.
Well, it's Nimzo Indian and Tarrasch.
Okay.
It depends on what white plays. So white can avoid some Nimzo, so he has a lot of other lines in
Tarrasch,
there.
so,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah, because they can avoid with Catalan structures. So
That's me.
yeah,
That's you
so
too.
you'll want to play those, and then you play the Semi-Tarrasch against the Catalan, basically. But I do play both already, so I understand a lot of the ideas. So it's not like I'm starting from scratch here. So
Yeah.
I am lucky in that regard that I already have a lot of study in these positions. But a lot of the lines are completely new to me.
Yeah,
So
let's say that like realistically, I think you can do your challenge. I think you can even get the score that you wanted to get with us, like the 90%. I think you could probably pull it off. But as far as like being able to really like interpolate and like use this on tap easily, I think it's gonna probably take about a month or something.
well,
like
that's the next question. So that's for the short-term analysis. What about for the long-term analysis?
Then
How-
I would like to be able to work with you in a different way, where instead of you coming to me and saying, this is what I want to do, measure it, I would want to say to you, okay, we tried your idea. Now these are things I'd like you to do. And mine would be a mixture of activities, like tactics training,
Yeah.
a little bit of opening training, some middle game understanding, and then end games, right? Those 4 things, like that kind of thing, and
Right.
build like a regimen where you're
and have
basically
them
breaking up.
curated.
You're breaking up
Yeah,
the week with
very
these things, and you're shifting focus with them. So maybe it's like 15 minutes of this, another so you're able to keep mentally active in the activity. But I am concerned with what you're doing because well, number one, even though I like Chessable, I've always kind of doubted it myself just because it seemed too. I was the Simon guy. I was able to just copy, and it's my mind is very good that way. I can like play back through what I just did, but I had no understanding. Like no understand. I wasn't reading. It was on me, right? I could do more with the course, but I wasn't reading the stuff that they were sharing. So I was literally just like, okay, I watch a sequence of moves, I play a sequence of moves. I watch a sequence of moves, I play a sequence, but I don't have any thought at all about those moves, and that is not how you make master. So I much more prefer my old method, which is I pull out a book of a grandmaster that I love, I play the other side, not the grandmaster, so I make their moves, And then my grandmaster that I'm in love with, like I think is so amazing, I try to then myself find their move from move 1 all the way through the game. And that level of learning has always been a lot higher. And there it goes from like, I think they should do this. And I remember as a kid, I would have a lot of doubt, like that doesn't seem right. And then I would see their idea later on. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so amazing. And I got inspired by that and excited by that. But Chessable, I did not find myself having that same excitement and love of what I was learning. It was just like, kind of what I said a minute ago, I did things and I'm like, I'm not sure what I learned. I'm not sure I could repeat what I learned. But I could copy them again if they did the moves again.
So that also could be the quality of the course. Because I know this course has a ton of game links.
Cool.
So like in every chapter, there's so many links in every line. There's a link to a game.
So if somebody goes and they look at those, that would help them out. But I'm saying if you just go the way I was doing it, low level learning, right? So I'm sharing this with you because I want you to do well, right? So I'm not just sharing this.
I want to read everything in the course.
Good.
That's going to be challenging. But yeah, I agree with you. Like I can't just like Johnny said, like Reti said, the monkey learning.
Yeah, and I feel that I'm really good at applying monkey learning. Like I will, like whenever it's possible, I will do it. Like just like Jacob said, like if I think that my monkey brain can handle this, I'm not going to naturally activate my higher levels of function to do it. And
I love that sentence, Reti. If I think my monkey brain can do it.
Hot takes with Reti.
It's true. And
Can his monkey brain handle it? That's our next.
I don't need to think in this position. I can just think about bananas. We're gonna go bananas. It's banana time.
We're going F6 sacrifices.
Has to be a recurring lecture theme once a month. Can Reti's monkey brain handle this?
Yeah,
that would be fun. I think that'd be a good YouTube segment, right? So we're like, all right, so hey everybody, we've got something for you today that even your monkey brain can take in. We're gonna show that, and then we're gonna show you the really cool part where you get to think. So monkey brain here, but then if they do this, now it's time to think, children. Like
exactly.
Great.
So basically breaking away from the times where you can solve it with monkey brain, right? Like I feel that you're gonna be able to do, if you do too much Chessable without enough understanding and enough like internalizing what's going on, and without like a little bit of narration, like narrative, I think that this is another thing that's really interesting, is that people, when they're memorizing things really deeply, they need to like kind of have the storyline of it. That's why we like named these after countries and people's names. Mm-hmm. It's to add narrative to chess so that it's easier to remember.
And so I don't want you using monkey brain at all, by the way. Like I want you to be actively thinking all the time. Like none of this monkey brain stuff. And also, no matter how great the position is, no matter how much you want to say this, don't say it one time. Never say this position is winning. You can say in this position, this side of the board stands better, but make sure to never use the word winning, because that will cause you in a game to be dismissive of the position and think you don't have to think anymore, but you do. Like there's always work to be done until that person resigns or you checkmate them. There is work to be done, and don't let go of that thought, because it's so easy. And like he was saying a minute ago about these like strong like struggles you have where it's been an hour and a half, maybe 3 hours of just battling it out. And you finally achieve something you've been working on for those 3 hours, like some small, maybe it's initiative, maybe it's a pass pawn, maybe it's a win of material, but you can't at that moment just like let an exhale out and then like sit back. Don't do that. You have to stay just as focused as you were getting to the point where you got that advantage. And it's so hard, but you remember your goal is to be this wonderful, strong chess player that understands and plays the game very well and beats strong players. Your goal is not to show that you memorize these lines, you know, so make sure you do the work. I'm going to keep saying that phrase, do the work, you know, because you're going to have moments when you don't think you need to. And also, no matter how much you've studied, learned, understand, know the next move you should play, take a minute. I would say have some kind of rule for yourself. 30 seconds to a minute to move, something where you say, I won't make a move within this amount of time, just to make sure you're clear mentally on the path you're going down. Because even though you know the top best move, make sure it's what you want to be playing in the position, and that there isn't some other idea that you've learned that maybe applies here. And you know what I mean?
Or match strategy. Like you don't want to lose opportunities for match strategy advantage against someone that you know is stylistically favored in one direction. So like I think you've had really good examples of playing people that you know, Dylan, in tournament where you've played them hundreds of times or dozens of times, and you kind of know their match strategy going in. So you can say, oh, I can just play a little bit more edgy against this player, and they're gonna pop like a grape. Or like if I just hang out and do nothing, they're gonna murder themselves on my pawn structure. Like you can
That's
kind of
so
predict.
true. If you know players, what he's saying is amazing, and I get that feeling through playing games against people. It's like you venture E4, see how they respond, or for my case, I usually go D4 first to kind of want to see how people play against that, and then based on how those games go, you're like, oh yeah, I could play E4 and have a very comfortable game against this person because maybe they are less aggressive, right? So they're feeling attacked, they're feeling scared, they're making moves that show that timidness that are making it easier to dominate the board, but. Like Reti said, you might have someone else that like that's all they live for is like active pieces and wild attacks and sacrifices. And now you've given them exactly what they need to be successful, and they play that stuff maybe more than you do, and that's where you kind of leave yourself some holes and gaps for them to come in and beat you, right? So,
I agree.
Definitely choose a strategy.
That is the nice thing about playing stronger players is that their games are easily accessible online. And I have beaten 2,300 players by prepping for them.
Oh gosh, you're cracking me up with this. This is where my sentence I keep telling people. I'm going to mention this to you. So when I first started playing chess at my club level, everybody in the club was pointing at people. He plays the Caro-Kann. He plays the Sicilian. He plays the. And so what I did is I said I'm going to play all of it, and like literally that was my goal. I was going to learn all of it, play all of it. I did this when I was like 17. And that's kind of the way I've always lived my life. I'm like very, very wide on my openings. And so Clara, in our match recently, online, I use the Caro-Kann all the time. Like, if you watch my games, you're like, oh, he's like 80, 90% Caro-Kann. So when we played each other, she's like, Fortuna, I thought you were going to go Caro-Kann. I went Perk instead. She's like, I wasn't ready for this based on, but I'm that kind of guy where I don't want someone to be, I don't want to be in somebody's prep. Like, they're going to have to, like, really work hard. And I don't even play the same lines in openings. Like, I purposefully make myself very wide. Like, I don't want that, like, ease of like, oh, you're gonna learn 24 moves in my favorite opening and take me down. Like, it's like you're gonna have to work for this. So I love that. It's like bird. It's like when we talk about the first move I'll play, knight to f3, f4, e4, d3, d4, c3. Like it's very wide. I'm not even a3. Like I'm not afraid to like really go big on my wheelhouse to take someone out of their game, and especially because I play better as black, which I'm showing in this match with Claire. I've won both games when I played the black pieces. So for that reason, A3 can be a very strong opening for me because I'm basically saying to black, what structures do you want to create? Or, like it makes me just kind of think more reactionary instead of like trying to, when I play aggressively, I tend to lose. I'll say it that way. When I don't listen to the board, so.
Right. And yeah, I actually knew a player in Southern California that would play the same exact opening every time.
Yeah.
And so she actually told me she was afraid because she hadn't prepped anything different in one of our games, and was afraid because I had beaten her the last time.
Yeah, or I've had people like beat me with my own weapon, like where then you kind of get stunned of like, what do you do? And the answer is just like go next door. Like it's not rocket science. Like you can just go do some other opening and like not get beat there. But like I think that there becomes like an ego thing, right? Where like you're like, that's my opening. Like you have like a possessiveness of that particular variation of ideas or something, and so like you don't want to, you just like stubbornly want to ignore any match strategy or any type of advantage, and you just want to just go like, I don't care, we're doing the same thing. I want to make sure that this is my opening. And I feel like going back to the monkey brain thing, we like to think that we're so sophisticated, but we're really not. We do a lot of really dumb things as smart people, like when we're like coming from a place of ego or a place of pride or a place of just like wanting to show our prowess at all. Like but whenever you take a piece that like you didn't need to take too fast, which I've done in classical games or I've done in like.
But like the Q is not going to use monkey brain. No more monkey brain. We got a week without monkey brain. We're taking that brain. We're pushing that guy aside.
Yeah.
We're gonna go like Kasparov. You can go Kasparov brain. You can go Kramnik brain. You can whatever brain you want to turn on. Magnus brain's kind of hard. I'm not sure anybody has Magnus brain to turn on. But
I can't use those 1,400 games of Bullet I played in 1 week in October.
Did you do that?
He did do that.
I played 1,400 games in 1 week.
I think that is like literally.
I think Fortuna School is gonna have you be grounded. Then I think no bullet chess this week.
I got my bullet rating.
Don't say it.
I'm over.
There's no happiness here. Just stop it.
I was happy. No, my rating is crashed.
Be good.
If you don't practice bullet, you don't get good at you don't keep your rating on bullet. My rating's crashed all the way to like 2,000.
Good. Happiest thing I've heard.
Yeah,
That's where we want you right now. With the classical chess you're playing, that's where you want it to be. As soon as you get done getting your goals with classical, you go back and play your bullet and be happy with yourself. But
that's right.
Right now, we need you to not be happy about finding it quickly. We want you to be happy about understanding it, taking the time, applying your knowledge, and winning a beautiful game. Not just trying to lightening it out and show off, I guess.
One of my classical goals that's going to be really challenging in the next year, I don't know if it's possible to accomplish it, is to get 2100 FIDE or 2200 FIDE between there. I'd love to get somewhere there. My feeding rating is so low that like I probably need like 20 FIDE.
Is it well established, or have you played a lot of FIDE games? Or
No. I mean, I might get some extra rating points here and there because I haven't played that many. But I played a solid 30, 40. Okay. So it's not like it's super volatile. But yeah, I mean or maybe I've played more than that, like 50, something like that. I know it's technically established. That's the problem, is that it takes forever once it's established to get the rating up. But when you're winning against strong players, you will get the rating up.
Oh yeah, so whether it's your FIDE or your regular one, exactly.
Yeah, and rating to me again is not that important. It's really about dedicating to play, and making the sacrifice, right? Like one big sacrifice I'm making is video games. I'm basically not playing video games much, a little bit, but no. I mean, I
not this week. This week you're not going to play video games.
No, there will be absolutely zero. And then the second thing is one weekend a month I'm losing income, right? I'm paying money to go to chess tournaments. I'm paying money that I would be making, right? So I'm gonna go negative $300 those weekends.
That's adulting though, because right? you're gonna have to buy your time as an adult. Like you're gonna have to spend that money to get the time away, no matter what. Like there's no way that you can swindle it out. Like I guess we can. I guess it's hard because we do chess for a living, and so we are able to kind of skirt the line. But I feel that
I wish I was 100% doing that.
Well, no. It's not easy.
We're also lucky we're in Los Angeles.
I'm not in LA.
Well, and
there's a lot of parent money here.
We're lucky.
Thank you very much, all you parents that pay us. Thank you so much. Join the chess club, the King Chess Club on Patreon.
Oh,
Join
nice.
that, please. Join the King Chess Club on Patreon. Words.
I'll put a link on my YouTube when I upload this. So.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate that.
The hard thing though about what we do is that we had to pivot between like teaching a 5-year-old how to move pawns into like really highfalutin, like really sophisticated chess theory. And I feel that those two worlds sound similar because they use the same tool, which is chess pieces, but they're like light years apart. And so we basically have to like mentally and physically travel with our bodies in our cars, but our brains as well, have to transition from like the most elementary, rudimentary, primary colors of chess to the most like sophisticated, crazy shades of some in between lilac and whatever. Like we're trying to find such crazy, complicated variations later from a place of it being really primitive. So I think that.
Do you guys have other teachers that work with you, like so you could break up some of that work, because it seems like you could definitely offlift some of that, especially when you mentioned like 5-year-olds are very young people if they're not.
That's where all the money is. Like you have to be able to teach like the young kids. Like you're never gonna grow out of teaching young kids.
That makes sense. My friend here in Lansing, that's 100% chess. That's what he does. He works in the school system, goes from school to school, and he does very well like with that. So
private students is where a lot of the money is in chess. You have to have classes to draw those private students, but then you get a really good professional rate, right? We're getting really great professional rate for what we do, and I didn't even realize was possible. Just kind of lucky that I have this niche that I fell into in college.
It's lucky, but I think that if your goal, it's looking hard work, because at the same time you think, oh, you're doing so much chess, you have such a great advantage in getting good at chess. But I think that better than what we're doing would be just not having any overhead or bills at all and just doing the hard work. Like if you were just doing the chess work, you would have an advantage over someone like Dylan or I, because I feel that because we have to pivot back and forth,
Yeah.
we have to do even more work than other people to be able to get back into because I'll have times where I can just like feel, I call it kid rust. I have kid rust all over my game. I'll be playing kids for like a week, and I'll show up at a chess park or something, and I'll play my first game, and I'll do some sacrifice. I'm like, oh, that's like I'm playing a 5-year-old. I'm not even playing an adult in my mind. And then I'll like shake it off, and then I'll be playing normal again. But like, there's like always going to be this transition between these two worlds of thought when you're like just super far in skill disparity. So like, I guess that's the tricky part. But I think
even with adults, it's tricky because they don't necessarily come to you like saying like, teach me. You know, they don't usually come that way. They usually come at you with like, I really want to learn or I want to play and then because they come at me with some of that stuff, depending on the player, it has me doing research and stuff to help them learn the stuff that they've asked to learn. Like that can be very challenging and very tiring and time consuming, and because sometimes it's not things I play as much, right? So I'm like, I think King's Gambit was asked a while back, and I was like, oh wow.
That's a hard one. You can't just like pick that one up. I mean, you can, but like that's like it's a lifestyle. King's Gambit's kind of a lifestyle than just an opening. But anyway, I'm glad I don't have to do that all the time. That would be exhausting.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty much ready to start the journey tomorrow morning.
Okay. Yeah, you should.
Doing it tomorrow morning.
So I think that as far as the short term, you should just jump on the Chessable and don't worry about all the other extra stuff. I think that basically we should just jump in from time to time with you, and as we're watching, maybe just take notes of some lines that we think are interesting as you're just doing your work as normal, and then we would do some independent study, right, of the lines, and then at the end of your week, then we can go over it and kind of just do our first like initial assessment.
Yeah.
You know? And then I think just keep it minimalist. I think that you should try to develop.
Not the initial assessment; it's the final exam. The final exam for the Reti Chess Club and the Fortuna Chess Club.
The final exam. So then we'll never do this again with any other openings in the future for you.
Coach, you want to kiss my lucky egg?
No.
No one knows the movie.
No one wants to kiss.
Come on, Cool Runnings. Come on, Cool Runnings. Anybody? Oh my.
Is that a movie?
John Candy, anyone? Oh my.
Jamaica has a bobsled team?
Yes, Jamaica has a they do! But seriously though, you're right. I need to just jump in, start the study. I'm still gonna do.
Are you gonna declutter tonight then? We're gonna declutter first. We want to create that area. And then we gotta work on having stuff in a lot of areas too, like
Coach, do I have to coach?
I mean, you want to have the area to work. You got baseball cards on your desk.
Yeah.
You got baseball cards on the
I would
desk.
say before you go to bed.
This one piece of paper right here, this redemption is worth $50. This is a $50 bill right here. $50.
Okay, well, why is it not in your bank account?
Yeah, there you go. Put it in your bank account. Listen, you can come up with excuses all day to not do the stuff we're telling you to do, but it's not going to help you pass our classes at the end of the week.
Yeah.
And you know,
so I'd say set yourself up for success. Clean your space up tonight. Have everything laid out, like you have whatever you need set up. So you basically are just like at the coffee pot, straight to your board, like in two moves. And I think that you should set up, and it'll feel really good. Like sun coming into the window, coffie's already ready.
And find music or like find things around you to really center you. Like get something that's going to keep you like in this zone. You want to be like in the zone with this, not just like hearing random noises and thinking about random things and shows distracting you and animals or pets.
That was one question I meant to ask earlier. Do you recommend music or not?
Obviously.
I highly do, but I'm also someone that when I was younger, I couldn't think if a clock ticked. So I mean, for me, the music just helped me like isolate.
Yeah. I say no. I like complete silence. Personally, I think it's nice when you're trying to get, because it's also the space that you're going to be in when you're using this skill. Because tournaments are silent as well, and you're not going to ever be allowed headphones when you're using this thing. So it might be nice just to be comfortable with your dark and terrible thoughts.
Unless you're like me, because what I do, like right now on this stream, for example, we've listened to the same song on repeat now throughout the whole stream. This is also the song that I work to all day on repeat, that I bike to on repeat. So by the time I go to a tournament, this song's still playing in my head, even though it's not playing on my ears. Like, If you can immerse yourself in it in a way where it's still there, it's probably fine. But I do agree with Reti. If you're not going to go Fortuna chess next level with crazy music in your ear over and over.
Yeah. And if you do have music, make sure there's no lyrics because like the rhetoric's gonna get in the way.
Alluvium's a nice one for like programming or thinking about stuff. There's different bands. Prelude for Time Feelers, amazing song. Like it just inspired me, I guess. And I try to keep my energy level up. You mentioned exercise. Whatever those things are, they're going to keep your energy level up. You need to keep those mental cells, active and alive. Like, as you're looking at your computer screen and going through these lines, and especially so many, there's going to be a drop-off physically in terms of, like, energy level, right? So if you start feeling that, stand up, walk around, like, keep that energy level up. And,
Well...
And cram 20,000 chess moves into my brain.
Maybe for the first one, you should just set up your camera on like a time lapse, not a video, because I don't want you to be talking or like trying to be like.
I'm gonna do some of that. I'm gonna be.
I think it'd be cool.
Confessional moments.
Oh, I see. You're saying like for capturing this, right? You're saying to capture the event, or.
I think that if you just so you have content for the first time, you can do vloggy stuff later. I'm saying for tomorrow, you should just do a time lapse because that's a 2-move thing. You don't have to think about the channel.
I'm gonna do a vlog-ish type entry before, but yeah.
Okay, well,
but I will do a time lapse. I like that idea.
I think a time lapse would be more useful than like having like a streamy kind of feel, because then you can actually study. I think that you shouldn't be adding a lot of extra variables until you get comfortable with the workflow, and then you can try to do it with the extra added stress of like sharing it. You know what I mean?
No, it's fine. Like, hey guys, I'm doing this thing this morning. It's gonna be great. Yeah.
No, that's fine. I'm talking about when you're actually doing the work. I think that
Muppet voices. That could be a strategy in your tournament. You could just do Muppet voices at the tournament hall before you play somebody. Make sure they hear you doing Muppet voices before you enter the tournament hall. And
Reti's already giving me an S.
Bert, looks like I'm gonna get my butt kicked, Bert. Like just
Reti's already like. -5 points, -5, minus.
Never going to make
We're going to ask you questions, too. We'll be like, did you declutter your area? And then you're going to be like, the baseball cards are still here, and we're just going to hang up on you. It'd be like, close call.
Close call.
We said, thing 1, before you do the course, clean up the area. The baseball cards need to go.
It's Luis Roberts' autograph, though.
Well, is he going to make you a master? Is he going to come over and teach you personally?
100% not. He makes way more money than I do.
Well, I think that you have a good plan. I think that the hard thing from here is going to be like self-regulation and inspiration. And I think that even more than that, it's going to be application after. I think that like the main structural problems with this is going to be, can you apply it right away? Like you can maybe, because whenever I cram for a test, whenever I cram for a test, I pass the test and forget the information. So like I typically will have enough information to get through the day, get through the test or whatever, through like the assessment. But then when it actually comes up for where I need to like apply that information in real life, it just hasn't taken deep enough root. It's like kind of surface level.
And I don't.
And so.
Oh man, it's hard.
I just realized
with Reti sharing this, I feel like I shouldn't share this as your coach, but I know for myself, I've always had an inverse relationship. So as my study goes up and I play games, the rating actually briefly goes down. And
that's true.
What happens to me is the knowledge I'm getting from the things I'm learning gives me all these new things to think about that I wasn't thinking about when I was having success before, and they kind of in a way get in the way at first. But then as I begin to take it in more, it actually it goes the opposite way where I curve back up, because now I'm not just making the moves that I saw, but now I'm understanding them, and I have a better feel for the position. So there's definitely that. So what we need to do in this week is we need to have you go down really quickly, like Monday and Tuesday, I guess, or like the early part of the week. And then by like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, whenever the end of your week is, we need you to be doing that, like going this way and understanding better. So
I just realized how hard it's going to be. It's basically like I almost have to do 2 chapters a day. And how many variations is that? At 900, if you're just joining us, 966 variations are the number of variations I'm trying to memorize. 20,000 plus moves. So I have to do 138 variations in a day. Actually, that's not that bad, considering I did 30 on stream in 2 hours. So that's 8 hours. Yeah, you're right. You guys were right earlier with the estimation. It'll take 8 hours to do this. that's going to
Yeah.
be challenging.
Like to not just be like, Simoning it up. We want to be doing it in a way that's thoughtful, that's, taking the course, and you mentioned reading the things that are in the course. As you're making moves, actually just being somewhat thoughtful about what's happening there, not just trying to get through it. So yeah. And then my other question is, with these openings, are these things you played a lot in the past? Like, do you have a good familiarity with this going into it, or is this more new to you?
I know
No,
the
he
general
knows it.
structures. Yeah, pretty
Okay,
well.
good.
Don't be overly
As your
humble.
coach,
He
that makes me
knows
happy to
what-
know, because I just feel like this, like if it was a brand new opening, like if you were a D4,
Yeah.
if you're some other style player and you're going into this, I'd be like, man, this can be awfully hard. But if it's in your wheelhouse and you've already got a good body
This
of
is
games, and all,
refinement.
okay,
This
good.
is definitely because
Good.
he has gone through and played these lines in tournament before, and like he's trusted these lines. He's not just coming like changing his style and coming out left field with the Nimzo. He actually knows the Nimzo, but I think he's just
I've beaten
understanding.
2300s with the Nimzo before.
So he understands it. I think that he's just understanding how wide it is, and if he wants to take it seriously and play really good players, he's going to need to actually do a deep dive. And so that's kind of what he's
and the
inspired
fact
by.
that this resource, this really great resource that I have, has just been sitting in my Chessable library, right? Like, I just need to take the time to just go through it, and then I'll know exactly where everything is, and then especially when I'm playing tournaments, I'll be able to reference.
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, I need this line, and then
That's
I didn't understand what's going on here, so I can go back to the course
after
and
a
figure it
year
out.
of tournament play, this will be like completely rooted, right? Like I think that like the Nimzo will be rooted in like your brain permanently with all the like the sub variations and everything in a year. But I think that you can start that journey in a week. I think that's totally reasonable, which is really what you're asking if you can do.
Something I used to do that I still enjoy doing now is, if I'm going to venture into this isn't a new opening for you, but if I was going to venture into this type of stuff, I'd want to play around 150 Blitz games and then analyze them afterwards in addition to what you're doing, because that's just going to give you more of an opportunity to get more of a feel. Like he was mentioning, the top lines that are getting played, motifs that happen. You gain so much from that experience as well on top of what you're doing. It's just a time crunch that you have that isn't going to allow for that this week. But maybe that's something to think about for next week as a challenge. Is like, I'm going to play 150 games and quality games, and then go back through and analyze them.
Analyze them.
Or is there like communities on chess.com or Lead Chess where people go on forums and say, "Hey, I want to play this Move 12 variant of this"?
They have theme games on like the daily.
They have
chess.
They have the arenas. The arenas are themed.
Yeah.
I don't. They're
But can you
they're
choose the
loosely,
theme?
No, not
Okay,
that
because
I'm aware of those.
it would be really cool if you could put up a challenge on Lead Chess or just one. Like, you just make a fixed position.
I know you
on
can,
Lead
you can
Chess.
say like play from position when you challenge a friend. I know you can do that, but I'm not sure about when you create a game. If
An open challenge, that would be pretty cool.
yeah, I'm not,
that would be
I'm not
a
seeing
great
variant
period.
choice. But
I don't know, just like a little.
I mean,
funny
I would be willing. If you asked me, hey, I mean, not this week because you're busy, but in the future, if you said, hey, Fortuna, play me from this, we could definitely do that together. It'd be kind of fun. And
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Or what if
Those are
you
always
and I?
helpful.
How about at the end of the week, at the end of this, so like once you finish your test, as your post test, like the killer didn't die at the end of the scary movie, right? You and I play 100 games of Bullet from that position where you have, and I just go through as many of the side variations as possible. We just do a stream of just you and I playing Nimzo Bullet.
Is there going to be a fight between the Fortuna Chess Club and the Reti Chess Club right now?
Yeah,
Hey, come on, man!
I'm feeling pretty supportive. I think we're both in agreement that in the future we're working with you. We'll create the content and the structure of the learning, and we're doing this with you as a friend. This is like, okay, our friend comes at us, says, I want to do this crazy thing that Fortuna Chess School says maybe, kids, don't try this at home. Have healthy lifestyles.
So
8 hours a day
Reti
for a
Chess
week
School.
is not the way to do it unless this is your profession. You need to be learning other things, preparing yourself for a lifelong of, learning other things that are going to be important to like making money. We talked about that a minute ago. The important, gonna be things you need to do, right? So, but hey, you get older, you're in a situation like this gentleman who's doing a good thing in life, and TheQ has, time for this. Yeah, go ahead and do it. You get a wife that's supporting you in this activity. That's great, but get the wife first. Get the degree first, get the job first, and then...
And that's the thing, is that, like, I've been spending the last 3 years working on a documentary about top-level chess players. Doing something that I love. I love that. It's really amazing. Like, being able to interview, like, Grishuk. Being able to interview with Wesley So, Caruana, you know, and I mean, be able to ask Magnus a question at the World Championship. You know, like that like blew my mind. I just was so obsessed with that. But I'm putting all my energy into all these other players, and I can't tell my wife that, by the way.
My viewers making me laugh. We got great ride over here. He's saying, Fortuna, skip the wife part. Don't tell him to get the wife first. They won't do the 8 hours a day. So maybe you build a plan where
that's why I said 7 at the beginning, just because I was doing wife calculations.
I just kind of. I mean, honestly, great ride. My wife is the one encouraging me to do this. She's like, look, you've spent so many years making us money and focus on the money, you know, trying to make it in LA. LA is not easy place to make it. It's really hard. You have to grind, And I've been doing that, and we're finally at a place where her career is super successful to the point that she could help put together my documentary, which I thank her very much for that. But now I need to do something for myself here, right? I need to accomplish this, just because I just love playing chess and I want to be very good. So
I'm excited to see how this goes, because this gives me ideas on maybe another way I could go. I don't think I'd do the 8 hours a day thing, just because, like you mentioned, I've got a job as well, and between web development, doing my stream 7 days a week, like there's not a lot more time for this type of thing. But it does seem like a lot of fun, and I like the idea of what you're doing.
That's also part of it, right? I am a coach as well, and I want to inspire people, and I want to make media that inspires people. So if I can do that at the same time as doing something that I really want to accomplish, I think that I'll be doing good as well as something selfish, right?
Yeah. Well, I hope it goes very well for you. I'm excited to see how this week goes. I'm excited to give you a quiz at the end of the week on the 5 lines that I select to have you get quizzed on. And I think this is a neat challenge. You know,
I'm nervous about that.
I feel like a lot of people have told me challenges in the past that are a lot less deliberate, and I really like what you've done here. You chose like a medium, so like Chessable is my place to learn, and then this amount of variations. Like, it's all very well quantified, very specific goals, and they talk about to be successful is exactly what you have to do. So I think you're on a good path in terms of the way you went about this. Now the next question is it truly achievable? Like, that's the only question I have, because it is pretty overwhelming what you're trying to do.
Right.
Let's be honest. I mean, it's a lot.
20,000 moves.
I think you're gonna do it, but I think you're gonna do it. But I also think that it won't help you as well as if you did it slower. Like, I think you're gonna pull it off, but like I don't think it's gonna stick as well.
Yeah, then it really comes down to, do I review it after? How much?
Yeah,
and we can talk about that. Like, how much do I need to continue
the post work? So maybe part of our assessment should be like an assessment for like what to do in the future. So like we'll give you your grade of like how you did on the week, like the snapshot, like the Polaroid of the week. But then we also say, like, continuing forward, here is what we can do to have this have more permanence in your strategy in your mind. I think that would be a good way to like kind of both quantify the future and also like give you like a path of like how to actually have it be deployable when you want it, because I feel like that's going to be the main issue. Is this happens with guitar licks all the time with me. Like, I'll learn some crazy thing on guitar and I'll be like, oh man, I love this thing, and then I won't be able to play it on stage for like 5 years or 6 years because like it's just something I can do in my bedroom, but like it just like I can't do it standing up with people yelling at me and like things going on and like all the pressures of like the live event. And so like there'll just be this long lag of like idea to like practiced idea to like rehearsed idea to, you know, comfortable idea to like every once in a while I'll try it and sometimes it fails, and to eventually it becomes like that consistent idea where no matter what happens that'll work live and in under pressure. And I feel like there's like always going to be that conveyor belt effect that will happen when you're learning something complicated and new, where like it just is going to kind of sit in your mind as like that's like why you lose the rating, right? We were talking about like why you would lose a substantial rating while you're like learning a new opening or changing your theory. And it's because like you're going to be damaging like muscle memory structures that were keeping you safe for like hopefully creating new advantages that are going to make you stronger in the future. But you're damaging things that you've built up in the past that were designed to simplify and keep your brain kind of out of it while you're like going through these really complicated
You're also
things.
committing to like it's a lot of time you're setting aside. I mean, 8 times 7, right? It's like what, 56 minutes. Like, it's a lot of time you're putting aside for this. 56 hours. in my opinion, I would have almost rather had you tell me I'm going to do like 4 hours and then assess or some smaller amount, just to see if it's really working towards the goal that you want the way you want it to. It seems like a rather big commitment to something that you're kind of trying out. I hope it goes well, but I would rather have like seen you like just take a couple of different ideas and say, is it this way of learning or this way, and then test, you know, to get that to get faster
the problem
feedback.
For me,
This one he has to do the big one.
The problem for me, guys, is that I'm an all or nothing kind of person.
Yeah,
and I have to just dive right in to get myself into the thing.
Have you ever seen Matilda?
Yes.
The movie Matilda. You know when that
Very
kid
cute.
eats the gigantic chocolate cake?
Yeah.
That's what you're doing right now, but with the Nimzo. You're just eating this massive chocolate cake of just Nimzo lines. And you will be victorious. Now, did that kid get diabetes for eating that cake? Probably. But did he win? Definitely. And that's kind of going to be you with the Nimzo. You're going to get Nimzo diabetes here. But I think that that's okay because you will be victorious.
Yeah,
So,
I will be victorious.
Oh, there's more cake.
So yeah, great ride. Great ride. We got some questions in the audience here.
yeah, what are the questions?
Well, Great Ride was asking the overall objective for me, which was to become a national master and to be a grandmaster next year. And Great Ride also to just increase the number of tournaments that I'm playing. Because like the last few years I've only played a few tournaments. I mean, subtract COVID. But even the few years before that I didn't play that many. I made another documentary about
I was always like one or two a year myself because I came up with a million reasons. There are always a million reasons I wasn't ready to play. I don't know my opening well enough. I haven't been playing enough recently. There's this thing I really mean. This book I wanted to crack. Like this is an example right here. I keep telling myself I'm going to read this book. This Chess Structures, a Grandmaster's Guide. I've been told this is wonderful by Perpetual Chess podcast. I'm like I need to read this. And I haven't done it, but I build up all these things in my head that are like roadblocks to entry.
If this is successful, I want to do this one next.
Oh, that's a good one. I've got that one. That's a fantastic book.
2,545 endgame studies.
That's such a good book.
Endgame after.
That book feels like math. Like you're given. No, I'm serious. You're given positions. And you just like look at it, and at first it's like there's no answer here, and then you like. There's like a bishop one I looked at right away with like a bishop. You have a knight, they have a bishop. The bishop has like 5 or 6 squares it can go to that are all safe. And you have to work through on each square why it doesn't work out and why your pawn queens or you get, the bishop. It's really fun. Like
I like
really
that reaction. I like that reaction. There's no answer. Look at that one. There's no answer. They're wrong. Totally wrong. No answer. Throw it in the trash can.
Yeah, I like it. They're fun. So
oh man, this is going so well. We keep talking. What's the next topic?
Let's talk about chess computers.
Well, I mean, I'm a little too ambitious sometimes too. I try to bite off too much, and that's a big problem.
Really, I wouldn't have guessed that about you.
Okay, I guess you can realize I'm memorizing 20,000 chess moves.
Oh yes. So TheQ, what is your goal for the week? Well, I don't want to learn just 20,000 variations, or no, sorry, 960 variations, but it's actually 20,000 moves. And what I'd really like to do is to have a good understanding of it to the point that you guys could choose a random 5 out of those, and I would score 90% or better. That all seems quite reasonable. Like what? Like I'm trying to repeat what you've told me, and it just seems
I'm
like
not sure, guys.
It's like the ultimate challenge, It's like the kid in school tells you, like, yeah, man, next week I'm gonna throw the ball like the whole length of the football field. I know I threw it 10 yards today, but I'm gonna throw it 100 yards next week because I'm gonna like start doing push-ups, and I'm gonna do like so many. I'm gonna do 10 push-ups when I first wake up, and then I'm gonna have breakfast, do 10 more push-ups. And like you see that guy the next week, and the kid shows up and he can't even lift his arms up. He's like, "Oh man, they hurt so bad." Like,
that's the New Year goal. Actually,
that's what I'm worried about with you. You're gonna be like, "Oh, I think I gotta memorize." You'll be like falling asleep as we're quizzing you. Like, I've been up for the last 48 hours straight. Like, I'm just trying to keep this clear in my head.
Yeah. Well, the next goal actually is to get in shape and exercise. So because that's also important for the tournament play. But I really need a personal trainer to get to that level.
Maybe I could try to help out with that too. I ran cross country quite fast in college and high school. I ran for a Division I school for a while, cross country, and had a lot of training.
Yeah, I've always been an athlete, but I've also had trouble motivating myself. I always need like a friend or a partner, and I got to really good, like mid-30s, peak physical shape. I didn't get back to where I was when I was like 18 or.
That could be good with what you're doing right now too, though. By the way, like if we had like check-ins like on certain days where it's like, hey, at this time Fortuna we're gonna check in and talk about stuff and kind of ask how your learning's going, or I mean, could be helpful to have that person that's kind of there keeping you accountable. So you're not having those days of like, well, I really meant to get to it today, but I'll just do 4 courses tomorrow because I didn't get my 2 done today.
Why don't we just check in on your show sometime this week?
That sounds good. I'll be on every day, so just pick a day and I'll be there.
Yeah, we'll just pop in, say hello. We'll use the door. I saw a YouTube video about the door, how a door made some guy $1 million.
Yeah, I saw that video.
Oh, that was your post. You posted that, right?
I posted that.
A door made someone $1 million, huh?
Apparently,
yeah, that's my post.
You open the door and people come through it.
That's not
just open the doors. I've been working way too hard. I just had to open up a door apparently.
That's all you gotta
do. Does anybody know who Sasha Chapin's book is?
No, I saw that in the chat, but I wasn't sure.
No, we fail. Coaches all around.
I wonder if I own the book. That'd make it even funnier. It'd be like,
there's a lot of chess coaches.
Wait, how many chess books do you own?
Me?
Fortuna. Yeah.
I think like 127 roughly.
Yeah, that's good.
I've got them all in. If you open up that web solution that I wrote, that web project has all of my books entered into it. So that'd give me an idea too. But
I have like 30.
I gotta check that out. We gotta check out some books from Fortuna's library.
Yeah, I've got a lot. I need to read more of them. Like I have an affinity towards books. I met with Cyrus Lockdewall, and I now own like 15 of his books, and I've read. Well, actually, on stream we made it through one of the books, the B6 book, but then somebody on YouTube was like, this content might not be your ownership. I was like, all right, maybe I'll just delete that video. But I had a whole series. I went through his whole B6's Black book, and it was fun, and I love that in general. I've always liked book learning. It's been a life
don't delete it until YouTube flags it. Also, you have permission from Cy, so.
Well, now I know Cyrus. Yeah, he likes me a lot, which is nice. We've had an interview together. He's friendly with me. He like
all the right moves.
Yeah, and my cats. He's always complimenting my cats and stuff. But this looks like a guy, like not an author. Like, but there's another one maybe out there. But when I search on, when I Google it, I just get some random guy. I think I can't imagine this shirtless guy holding some kind of drink and his cell phone is the chess author. But maybe it could be he just I also drink milk and talk on my phone.
Oh, it's a memoir.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
About chess love and ruining everything. Oh, great. Oh, great ride. Oh, I've got stories about Feingold. Are you guys ready? Are you guys ready for this?
Only if it's nice, because I like him a lot. I've coached them before. This better be nice.
No, it's more a
okay
conversation about how silly teenage Dylan was.
Okay.
So we were on this chess website called chess.net.
Okay.
It was around from like the 2000s until the guy tried to monetize it and didn't offer anything and just said everybody pay now, which is a terrible strategy.
That strategy didn't work, huh?
But no, not at all. Not at all. And Feingold was like really up and coming in 2000. I don't know if you remember. He wasn't even a grandmaster then. He was an FM. And he would play on the side all the time. But he would complain and complain and complain. And I was a tournament director, so I would just, they had simple codes to get the tournament running, / whatever code.
It looks like that site's still around. I mean, I see chess nets out there.
Yeah, but
alive and kicking.
No one plays on there, right?
Well, I'm gonna play there now. I think I'll stream there exclusively. This is my new home. I can't play anywhere else.
Yeah, their server was just better than ICC's at the time, and ICC still hasn't changed theirs. Oh, hot take on ICC. ICC, get your stuff in order. They are, by the way. They are. ICC is getting their stuff in order. They're going to be a powerhouse.
That's good to hear, because I tried revisiting that. I opened up, I was actually using like the free internet chess server, the Fix or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
So I was playing on that again, and I'm like, wow, this is not what it used to be. I couldn't even get it. No one was there to even play. There was like no...
Yeah. But Feingold wasn't even a GM then, and we were just like make fun of him all the time behind his back. But my username on that website was Big Bob's Used Carpets.
For chess?
Yeah, for no reason. No reason. I was like, what would be super funny? A guy who sells used carpets playing on a chess site.
I do that. That is totally your humor incarnate.
I just crush on one of the girls, Kareen.
So like everybody else goes with like Blunderful, and that's what you came up with, huh? They're trying to make like the puns on the chess things, and
I came up with Big Bob's used carpets.
Yeah, my name is just a chess opening, so real original.
Reti is just Reti. Well, now I'm Coach Q, TheQ. That's my last name is Q, so it goes well. With the Q.
That makes sense.
there you
And
go.
and in games, like in video game talk, it's TheQ. Like you're standing in the line waiting for the game to start. So it's
That's
multi.
true.
Also, now it's conspiracy theories, so I'm also Q.
Yeah,
Like,
Q and
I'm
I.
also the guy who started that. Yes.
Don't claim that.
So what's the official start date then? Is it tomorrow when you start doing this?
Tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it.
Okay, so tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow morning.
Time lapse.
19th, I guess, and then
Do a time lapse.
I gotta kiss these cards.
And then are we
Put them
giving
away.
you? Are we giving you
Yeah,
like
baseball
8
cards.
days then, or is it 7? Like what? Are we assessing
8
you on
days.
the 8th date? Okay, so
8th day.
Well, the 8th
8th,
day will be the
7th.
25th. I don't know if you guys celebrate the consumerist holiday.
so looks like
Yeah,
we're
I will.
quizzing on the 26th. It looks like, right? Is
Yes,
that-
yes.
Yeah, it's
I'll be
Sunday.
celebrating consumerism with my
Yeah.
grandparents.
Celebrate
who-
your consumerism and the Star of David and all that.
I will. I will. Don't take that away from me. I like eating snacks with my family, and
What I can't
hang out
believe
with
has
free.
happened tonight is that
you have a tree behind you. Look at your tree.
you
Look at you.
guys have somehow
Shut
gone.
up, dude.
I am not.
I feel like I
I'm
got
not-
tricked by my friends. My friends got me to go on a chess stream where I didn't play a single game for the entire stream. What have you
That's
guys
true.
done to me? What is this? Is
We
We
like
didn't even pull up a board. We didn't even. We
I mean,
literally
there was
just
like
said Nimzo,
nothing.
and that
Like,
was it.
I've got boards behind me. That's as close as we got to
Yeah.
playing chess. I did show this. We got the magnet board again. That was exciting. We had the moment of magnet board. But yeah, this is crazy. I'll be.
That was incredible. I'm glad that we got all that. Well,
What's the
actually,
magnet board?
I think that it was
We can
important
play
for
a game
people
on the
to-
magnet board right now if you want.
I think that it was. No, I think it was cool for people to see that there's a lot of stuff that is not just like making moves. Like you have to make bigger moves in your mind before you do like big changes. Like you have to sit down, strategize, figure out like, man, I really want to do this thing.
So when
And-
when we on this stream, are we all going to raid the same person? I was thinking Chess Coach Net myself, but did you guys know where you're going to go with your raids, or we just what was our strategy?
Raid away.
Chess.net? Yeah, that's fine.
And then we're coming back on the 26th. Do we want to go with like a live broadcast of these 5 lines that we're quizzing
Yeah.
you over?
Why not?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
It has to be live. So then it's raw reaction when he's failing. I mean,
Oh,
succeeding.
come on.
I mean,
Stop
succeeding
that.
really well.
You gotta believe in me, Ready?
I should do the lazy coach thing and just say, hey, we'll have Reti quiz you first, and then if you do bad enough on his, you won't even have to do mine because you have no chance of passing.
That's true.
20,000.
That sounds
Like,
great.
he's got to hit 90%, so you better make the first school good because
Yeah.
you don't
Yeah,
have a
you
whole lot of
better-
leeway
yeah.
here.
All right,
Yeah.
let's wrap up so I can actually start clearing my desk off.
And cleaning up. That sounds
Try
great.
not to like think fondly of the baseball cards too long as you move them. I've noticed some affinity here.
I'm
You're
gonna
gonna be like,
pet
oh,
them.
this one's so nice.
Yeah, he's
and
been kissing them and stuff. Did you see that? I saw a couple of those.
I expect the
frames.
same level of love of these variations when we're done. You better be telling me how much these variations were. This is
Yeah.
a $50 variation right here. This is amazing. We don't want to
That's
see
not a
that. This is a
variation,
chess
yes.
stream, and that's a baseball card. Just
Yeah.
please.
Yeah, please.
Remember
Please.
where you are.
Please,
Know thy
yeah.
audience. These guys have never seen baseball in their life.
Fabiano!
They-
I have a Fabiano card.
They
Though.
have a Fabiano.
I do have a
Fabiano
card.
baseball card.
Yeah,
He does.
yeah, he
He
got
actually
one. He
does.
got it was in a Champions League thing, Champions thing.
It's
not
real.
Champions
He
League,
actually
sorry.
does have it.
Oh,
There is
no.
a Fabiano rookie card that I got. Fabiano rookie card. Let's go.
Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
Okay, let's get these variations. Let's do
All
that.
right.
So, all right. Well, everybody.
Thank you, my friends, for joining me on this. I appreciate
course.
everything, and I'm gonna dive right in and get this going. Let's do it.
Let's do
Let's
it.
do it.
I'm sending
All
my
right.
raid. We'll see you guys next time. Going to Chess
All right.
Coach
All
Net
right.
here. Enjoy the next
Yep.
stream, guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. I look forward to seeing what TheQ can achieve here. Will he make master? Will he memorize these lines? Will we have to come up with another challenge for another week? But this is pretty
Or
exciting.
will we just roast him for like failing all 10 of our lines that we became too strong in?
I don't know if I'd roast him. I mean, this is pretty. It's a
I
big
would.
goal. I'd be happy to. I mean, if he makes part of that goal, it's still quite the achievement in a week. I mean, this
No,
isn't. This isn't a small feat.
I actually
Yeah.
believe in him, but I actually just know him so well that if I show doubt, he'll work harder. if I just believed in him all the
This
way,
guy.
Oh, I see what you're
then
saying.
then you see what I'm saying? Like if
Never
I
reverse
show,
psychology on me, thinks that's going
it's
to
not
work.
reversed.
I'm gonna take the Q from you, Reti, and do the same thing. Yeah, man. I don't think you can do this.
Oh, on that note, bye everybody.
Bye.
Good night.
So
So long.
Oh man.
Oh wow,
That was fun. That was, yeah, exactly.
Guys.